Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, race fans alike, and welcome into the Octane Online Racing Simrigs Sprint Series. We're here for round 7 at the wonderful Circuit Ricardo Tormo. For round 7, as I said, season 14, we're going to be having a great race tonight. In the comms box is myself, George Cook, and I've got Connor Hind here, who's doing a double stint tonight. What an absolute legend. Connor, how are you doing tonight, mate?
Yeah, good George, good George. Good day chat, good day everyone watching, and we're in for a good night of racing.
We sure are. So we've got our qualifying, which is happening right now on screen. 12 minutes of qualifying, 2 qualifying sessions today, and 2 30-minute races, which is an awesome format. Of course, we got Split Blue tonight. You're seeing Split Blue right now. And then we'll have Split Red coming up later in the evening, which Connor will be commentating on as well. So it's going to be interesting. It's not too hot out there, actually, Connor. I'm just noticing 22 degrees track temperature now, so it's cooled down quite a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's cooled down a bit since what we were viewing before in the practice servo. That means the times will tumble a little bit, especially with the ambient coming down. So we could see the fabled 29s come out tonight. You never know.
Be exciting. Yeah, we've come very close. Well, actually, you've come very close to a 29 yesterday at Split Green. So we'll see. We'll see if it's possible today with the lower track temperatures. It will obviously be slightly more possible. Quite hot, I think it was in Split Green and Split Yellow, but some good racing in both splits yesterday. And of course, I mentioned for Simrigs, if you are an OOR Patreon, you do get 5% off of Simrigs as well, which is a great little bonus there, and really supports the team who do such a good job in the background, like our broadcaster today, who is Glenn. So as always, Glenn, thank you very much. Simrigs, there you go, on your screen right now, OOR Patreons, receiving that 5% discount off in store, which is brilliant to get your hands on.
We're seeing some times tumble in. Grant Begg has put it in preliminary pole at the moment with a 31-1. That'll come down over the session, obviously, as Jamie Convoy goes 4/10 faster.
He does indeed. And just while those times do start to come in, we've got the standings up on our screen right now. So we're going to take a quick look through your top 3 in each of the categories. 4 categories, of course, now in the Sprint Series. So for your Pro category, the battle is absolutely on in this race and the remaining 3 races of the season. Jamie Convoy is leading at the moment on 766 points. Joshua Vediger is on 765 points, so a difference of only 1 point between them. And then we've got Ethan Cale in the 3rd spot for the Pro class. In Silver class, Cameron Thistlewaite is leading us away at the moment. He's got about a 20-point lead or so over Leela Bell, she's been having a great season so far. Really top stuff from her. And then Jake McKellar is also in it as well, very close in the Silver Championship at the moment for Split Blue. Looking to your Pro-Am results at the moment in P11, overall, Steve Lewis is leading Pro-Am class, then Ashley Vediger, and then Neil Wood. So that's your Pro-Am class. And then Am, one of my favorite categories. James Lawrence is currently leading us away in Am class. Then Afdal Sebi is taking the 2nd spot in Am class. And then Bennett Ring, who's a little bit further down the grid, but could still be in it to get up in that category. And I think we've just seen Taylor do a 1:30.702. So, yeah, the times are dropping. I'm trying to think, how soon are we going to see a low 1:30 here? I suspect Convoy here.
Well, so it depends how much you really lap the track and how in flow you are with it, because, like, the low times came in our split and the split before really early on, whereas it may come like within the next lap or 2. It may come towards the end of the session. You never know.
Yep, very true. But yeah, it is a tricky one out there, of course. Very tricky track. MotoGP track, traditionally. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily perfectly aligned for GT3 racing, but it's a heck of a lot of fun to get out there. What do you think is the trickiest thing about this track? You mentioned getting in the flow before. I think that's probably the trickiest thing, and also just holding speed through these corners and holding the right line.
The trickiest thing for me, and I've heard quite a few people say this as well, is overtaking, because there is a common consensus line that a lot of people will take to be fast around here. It's really hard to spook people out to go off their line to then, make a mistake and you can overtake them. Plus, of course, of how flowy it is and how high speed it is, people are carrying just as much speed as you. So it's hard to get them into braking zones and such.
Yeah, I think that's very, very true. It's yeah, single file basically all the way, unless you can get a really good run on the main straight, potentially an opportunity into turn one. You have to be very brave, though. I mean, any overtake around here, you're going to have to be extremely brave, Connor.
Yeah, 110%. And this track makes you work and earn your overtakes, which in a sense is another good thing about the racing here, is that when you do overtake someone or you do have a battle on track, it's a really nose to tail, hard fought kind of thing.
Yeah, too right. We did just see Chris Taylor go up into pole position with a 1:30.5, so the times continue to drop. Currently on board with Joshua Vediger, who's in P2 in the pro class there with the old Coca-Cola no sugar. What's your preference on that? You a Coca-Cola with sugar person, Connor?
I'm actually a no Coke person. I don't dislike it. Like, I like Coke, I just don't really drink it. I'm more of a Pepsi Max fan myself. But I do rate the livery. Even if it was just normal Coke, I do rate the livery.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a pretty good livery. Excellent. Yeah, I do like a little bit of Pepsi myself. There's Convoy going off track. So that was at turn 12, I believe. Very tricky corner to get right. Fast right-hander over that curb. Or trying to avoid the sausage curb, but you really do want to run the curb if you can. Try and open up the corner as much as possible on board with Brad Cook. And yeah, Brad Cook, he's actually just joined us in Split Blue, taking a pretty good line there through that corner. He's up on his time as well by 2.5 tenths of a second at this stage. So he's coming for the remainder of the season, and that's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, he's not going to be fighting for the top of the standings, but he will be in there to mix up the top of the pro category, won't he?
Yeah, Brad's a really quick, speedy driver. As you see, he puts it in the pole by 1/4 of a tenth. You have Vediger about to cross the line. He's 2 tenths up. That'll set him in P3. The top 5 are separated by 2 tenths. That's going to be a sneaky little good battle pack as we go on board with Grant Begg. And is that a new livery? That is a great livery. I like that.
Got to respect the Monster Energy livery there, and on a McLaren as well. I do like the combination. It's great. And he's our fastest silver driver at the moment. So he's only 0.18 of a second away from the pole time. So that's a good lap he's put in there. Nice banker. Going on board with him now. Let's see how he is at the hands of this McLaren. Looks pretty smooth to me at this stage, going through one of the trickiest corners here. There's a lot of patience required here, especially in corners like that. Need to be patient on the throttle as much as possible. Get that angle. He avoids that curb on the left-hand side. Nice angle there. Maybe a little bit oversteer on the exit, but overall, I think that's looks pretty comfortable behind that steering wheel right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of late apexes, as you can see, which then allows you to get that drive coming out of the corner. You're a McLaren driver, right?
Yes, I sure am.
So is there anything you would look to be doing on this track in the McLaren as we are on board with Grant Beck?
It's a tricky one. So, I mean, I was actually relatively slow at this track until I had some mega advice from someone who is in chat, who knows who they are. They can call themselves out if they would like. Well, that's a moment as well he's just had on the exit of turn 2. I would honestly say it's mostly about just getting the throttle application right out of the corner with the McLaren. A little bit too much here and there, and that rear will step out quite handily, and you will be fighting the oversteer and losing a lot of time with it. I don't know how similar it is for other cars, because unfortunately I don't have the experience. So, because Connor, what car are you driving at the moment? I forget, unfortunately.
I am unfortunately a Ferrari tragic, so I will live and die in that car. I'm also a GTR fanboy, so yeah, I have an interesting choice of cars. But the Ferrari's the same. The Ferraris, you've got to be on power as early as possible just to get the car to get up and go out of the corner, especially with the big turbo spooling.
Yeah, too right. No, I respect the Ferrari drivers out there. Anyone who's a Ferrari forever fan, got to respect it. The other day, I'm a McLaren forever fan, so I somewhat know what you guys are in for at the moment. But and of course, the F1's going to Japan as well, so it's going to be a good one. Nonetheless, we just see McKellar come across the line, P7 for him. This is very close between these two. No overtaking allowed in qualifying, so Beg's going to have to do this whole lap behind the driver ahead. He's actually really found some time, and oh dear, that was nearly a huge moment there. Backs out of it. That'll be his qualifying over. But right now, Brad Cook still on the top spot. We haven't seen a time under 1 minute 30.5 for 2 so far. Comboy is just starting another lap now, so he'll be one to keep a very close eye on throughout this race. Actually stays in 4th there, which is interesting. Sometimes the McLaren's actually better off going to 3rd, but he's already found a chunk of time there, up by 0.2 of a second. Loses a little bit on an exit. That's exactly what we were just talking about, Connor. Getting that power down, very, very tricky in these MR cars.
Yeah, well, when you're coming out of the corner, especially here, if you get any form of slide or exit, it just eats away at your time. But I reckon if he can keep it solid for the rest of the lap, I reckon he's got it in him, because his last lap, even though it doesn't seem to be valid, was a 0.4, so he'll definitely be up on it.
Yep, couldn't agree more. He is continuing to find time. Into turn 8 we go. Another tricky corner. Got to hold a lot of speed through this. He straightens it out quite nicely, but gets a little bit of oversteer on the exit. That's what they're fighting against, but doesn't lose too much time, actually. So still up by 0.3 of a second. Nice, holding a bit of speed through that apex there. Looking pretty solid at this stage. So Comboy could be on for a really, really good lap here. This could be good enough easily for pole position. Committed through turn 12. Well done there. Loses a little bit of time. Not as good as his previous laps. Into the last corner we come. And let's see how he gets through here. Nice and smooth, hopefully. Yep, rides that apex nicely. Gets on the power early. He's actually lost a little bit of time there, but it's going to be across the line, 0.3 of a second up, and good enough for P1. Great lap.
Yeah, he had it in him. A lot of the top drivers have it in them, really. Ethan Cale's another one who has it in him. He's a couple of tenths up now, coming around the final corner. Ooh, let's see what kind of exit he gets. He loses a little bit of time on exit. It should still put him closer to the 5. He might even pit Vediger in 5th. Just gets Vediger. That's really close between the top 5, 6 even.
Yeah, that's right. There's about 0.3 of a second between the top 6 at the moment. So that is a very, very close qualifying. But your top 10 in qualifying, as it stands now for the Pro Class, Comboy will take the pole position and sit right at the front of the start on the start of this race, and he'll take us away. Then we have Christopher Taylor in P2. Brad Cook, only good enough for P3 at this stage, but still a great place to be starting. Grant Begg, great performance there. Silver class driver up in P4. Very, very impressive. McLaren, obviously fitting with his driving style very well at Valencia. Kale, as we just saw, comes across in P5. Joshua Vediger, this is a bit of a surprise here. Will start in P6 in this race. He's in the Porsche, of course. Then Jake McKellar, another silver class driver there, so he'll be second in the silver class in P7. Paul Bowen and Salvaggio here at P8, P9 respectively, and Bowen being our top Pro-Am driver. So a couple of Pro-Am drivers in the top 10, very, very respectable. And then Leela Bell, she will round out the top 10 in qualifying as we go for our lovely grid walk here. So, yeah, some good liveries as well. So here we go.
Yeah, you got to respect the monster one. I do like the OES colours of the Lambo too. I'm an orange car fan. There's the Coke car, so I love that Valvoline Porsche too. That Valvoline Porsche is great.
Yeah, this is a personal favourite of mine as well. McKellar has had a number of compliments on that livery. It is absolutely brilliant. Love the colours and love the paintwork.
He should get 100 points added to whatever race total he gets just because of that livery.
Yeah, we need a livery of the day, and that should come along with 100 points, as you said, 100%. There's Thistleway in the blue Mercedes, which I do like. Another OES orange Lamborghini there. As you said, I actually also do like orange cars, being a McLaren fan. Here's the camo, dark grey and other such colours Lamborghini. There's Hayden Marsh on the left-hand side as well. He's qualified in P16, so that's a good qualifying from him. I know that he's just upgraded 24 hours ago to a Moser direct drive wheel from a G923, so he's going to be having a bit of fun time today with his new gear. I love that BMW 558, looking very, very nice as well. And yeah, it's a top job from the liveries here. And of course, rounding out Parkin. I don't think that's a livery on that BMW, but he's lined up next to a very nice 296 there.
That is probably a not too good of a crack at a livery on that BMW.
Yeah, that's the zero effort livery Which, to be fair, I mean, I don't have any livery skills, Connor. I don't know if you're a fan of making them or if you have any skill at doing them, but I just, for the life of me, I can't.
I have a skillet with liveries. I have a skill of paying someone else to do it.
Ah, yes. It's a crucial skill. It's a highly rated skill in my book, to be fair. Because, yeah, I just can't. I just cannot. Welcome into everyone in chat, by the way. We've just had our qualifying for Split Blue here, and we're going to be jumping into the first of two 30-minute races today. Convoy is on pole. They'll take us away for the out lap here, the warm-up lap. They'll get their tyres into the window, get the brakes into the window. You know, Connor, are you a fan of heating up those rears, the rear brakes as well as the front brakes? What's what's the general thing that we end up focusing on throughout these warm-up laps here?
So I guess everyone has it a little bit differently and does it a little bit differently. But for me, and I just make sure to drag the brakes throughout the whole lap, and I'm accelerating, decelerating, stamping on the brake pedal, just to get as much heat into the brake and the tyres as much as possible. I'm not a weaver as such, but some people say it works, others say it doesn't. So
yeah, I'm also not convinced on the weaving. I do it myself just in case it provides any kind of competitive advantage off the line. But to be fair, all I keep thinking about is how much grip I'm losing. So I generally try and avoid it. But yeah, it's a good strategy. Everyone's got their own little styles of what they want to do, how they want to operate. They will be going through the last parts of the circuit shortly, and we'll be leading away for the first race here. So any predictions? Want to put your money on anyone in particular, Connor?
I'm gonna put my money on Taylor, number 19, the Ferrari, being a Ferrari fan.
Very good, and I think I'll do the same, but for Convoy in the McLaren. So there we go. We're gonna have a nice little battle in the commentary box for who gets the money after this race. Side by side, they go through the final corner. It's Campos, of course, the only corner on this track not named after a famous MotoGP racer. Of course, Adrian Campos. Famous team owner. But nonetheless, they will go side by side down the main straight. It is 28 degrees Celsius now on track. It's gone a little bit hotter. 12 p.m. here in the day, and we're about to go across the line. Convoy will lead us away for race one here in Split Blue for round 7. The start has been initialized. Look for that green flag coming up momentarily. We are green. Looks like a decent start for everyone. Joshua Vedega trying to make up some positions early. There's a McLaren on the outside. They're going to go 3 or 4 wide. It's got to sort out as they come into turn 1. Convoy still holds the inside line there. The Ferrari of Chris Taylor looks stable. Got the Monster Energy McLaren of Grant Begg as well. And there's chaos. Huge chaos. That's going to be a safety car, I suspect. We will wait and see, but there's chaos everywhere. The safety car has been deployed. So it looked good at the start, Connor, but then we had the typical Valencia turn 1 happened.
Yeah, the front guys in the mid-pack kind of got through there nice and clean, held their line, protected their line. I don't know who kicked it off at the back there. I seen one of the OES orange Lambos sideways at one point. So maybe that was the start of it there, right on the apex of the corner.
Yeah, very easy to do in turn 1. Of course, that's why I was saying you need to sort yourselves out into at least, probably maximum 2 wide into turn 1, unless you want to burn a speed token. And by speed token, I mean track limit warnings and just send it around the outside off the track. But we had a bit of chaos in one of the races in Split Blue as well. Don't know how they went in Split Green. So, yeah, turn 1 at Valencia is always a bit of trouble, unfortunately. And whether it's, just trying to align yourself for position, you might get a good run off the line from the race start and then find yourself side by side with someone. And you've got a lot happening around you, so you're not necessarily always looking directly at that radar. But unfortunately, these things do happen. I believe the safety car will come in at the end of this lap. But yeah, very unfortunate to start off race 1 in that way. We'll get a replay of that for everyone in chat to see what happened shortly. But yes, that was a bit unfortunate. Yes, safety car coming in this lap. Okay.
Be interesting to see when JC does go. You really want to get the driver out of the corner. So it'll be interesting as he comes out. He's tried to get the jump. Taylor's going with him. Oh, he hasn't caught anyone off guard, really. Everyone's kind of stayed in the same line.
They sure have. Yep, leading us away. Convoy will go across the line, restarting this race. 27 minutes, 52 seconds to go. And yeah, there's a couple of different philosophies for race starts under the safety car. That's a speed token for a couple of cars there. Begg, by the way, Grant Begg, our silver class driver, has moved up the inside in turn 2, and he's gone past the Ferrari of Christopher Taylor, who's trying to try the cutback. Back into turn 3 there. He'll make it kind of happen, but no, Beg will take it. The silver class driver up into P2. What a move that was. Very opportunistic off the start into turn 2. As I was saying, there's a couple of philosophies on race car start. That's all very wide there from Chris Taylor. He's going to be under pressure now from Cook. Cook, rightly so, backs out of the corner there. So sensible move. Crikey, that was some opportunism. Really was.
I think Beg kind of did the really good strat of being, like, you know, confident and calm. He let him know where he was on track, and he kind of took advantage of the opportunity that presented himself. And I'm wondering if Taylor kind of didn't let his tyres get too cold on that safety car lap.
Yeah, it's quite possible. I mean, he definitely was slow through the exit of turn 1. That's what opened up Beg to get through and outbrake him into turn 2. So you're absolutely right. Could have just been a little bit of the tyres, it's not quite getting activated, not quite in the window. But that McLaren was absolutely flying, so Beg done a really good job, and now Chris Taylor will become, well, he'll be under a little pressure from Cook behind. But that's Kale, who's holding right onto the back end of Cook, and you can see the breaking the slip there, the attempt by Convoy. He wants to get away nice and cleanly. Fastest lap across the line is a 132.110 from Paul Bowen, the 17 car, in P7. So that's we'll see that time, I suspect, drop quite significantly in this race.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of drivers will try and break that toe if they're within that, say, 0.3 kind of gap. When you start getting to 0.4, 0.5, then the toe, yeah, it's there, but it's not as massive. But anything you can do to gain that extra tenth or two to stay ahead.
Cool, and we are... Excellent. Thank you very much, Glenn. So we've just been told we're about to get the replay here of the start. So we're on board with Carter in the Lambo. So keeping an eye here on the 559 car at this stage of the race. And looks like he got a really, really slow start there. What's going to happen through turn 1? There's contact there. He goes for a spin, and then cars colliding, going inside of each other, glitching out. And that is why we had a safety car there. So quite a number of cars involved in that. There's the BMW. Oh, coming back on track, colliding with another BMW. And yes, so unfortunately that slightly bad start there from Carter, and then running wide into turn 1. Looks like that's what's caused the collision there, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's just probably misjudged his braking and drifted wide. And as JC comes through with a 30.7, nice race pace. Looks like these guys out the front are kind of starting to drop Kale and Cook at the back there and form their own little battle pack.
Sure are. Kale's just managed to make a move on the inside of turn 1 on Cook, and Vediger is now looking for a move as well through turn 2. So we will keep an eye on that, because Kale has just made an absolute send. I wonder if they've dropped back, maybe just fighting a little bit through the last sector of the lap. And yeah, Joshua Vediger has come through on Brad Cook. So Brad Cook has now fallen from what was a P4 to now P6, and now under pressure from Bowen behind. So unfortunate there for Brad Cook. Don't know quite what's happened in that Porsche, but a bad run through the main straight towards turn 1 has led to him losing a couple of positions to cars ahead. Kale is flying away now, and the McLaren of Bowen is all over his rear bumper.
See, it's one, as was talking about before, and even pre-race, if you make one kind of mistake going into any of the fast corners, whether it's the kink or whether it's turn 1 or even going down into turn 2 with the big braking zone, you make one slight mistake and you're offline and you just bleed time away, which in turn bleeds positions.
Yeah, precisely. Opens up gaps around as well. Then your tires are getting too hot. And then all of a sudden, as you said, you've lost 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths, and you don't really find those tenths back in these sort of laps here. That's Grant Begg. Across the line now, he's now set the fastest lap at 130.590. He's sitting about 6 tenths of a second behind Convoy at the moment. I'm really impressed with that start by Grant Begg. Very, very impressive move on Chris Taylor at the start, restart of this race, and makes himself, puts himself in a fantastic position to take home a huge number of points there for the silver category.
Yeah, it'd be a great result if he can keep it. It's been a silver class driver up there. It'll give him good experience too for if he is looking to kind of jump up a class or gets promoted a class, being around those kind of pro class drivers and seeing what it's all about.
Too right. And it's the perfect track to do that in the McLaren, of course. The McLarens, I mean, they have been a little bit extra strong here. They've got a few advantages. I'm not 100% sure what it comes down to, but I do recall the Valencia endurance race we've had recently, the Per Mobile one. And yeah, it was basically McLaren's in the top 12 cars, I believe.
There was McLaren's in the top 12 with 2 Ferraris, because my team was one of the Ferraris, and the other Ferrari was Corey Sweet and Ben Floyd. But yes, the McLaren is a very popular choice here.
Yeah, I think the Ferrari at the end of I ended up driving the Ferrari as well during that endurance round, and it was actually a beautiful car to drive. We just cranked the TC up on it, and it was absolutely beautiful out of the corners. Really, really stable. I'm absolutely loving the 296 as an addition in 1.9. Beautiful. We're on board with Grant Begg, and by the way, we did just see a black and white flag for Leela Bell for weaving. So you don't want to be picking up any more of that. You obviously caught the race director's attention, the steward's attention, for being a little bit cheeky, maybe on the main straight, maybe into some of the corners, but yeah, weaving, once you've made that directional move, that's really it. That's all you're allowed to do, and then you've got to hold your line. So Leela Bell, she has gotten a slap on the wrist. She's down on P8 at the moment in the 251 car, but yeah, looks a little bit sketchy here on board with Grant Begg, but he's managing to keep the car under control at this stage, driving his heart out at the moment to keep on the back of Convoy.
Yeah, absolutely. And like all Grant's got to do now is really just stay calm. Like if he's a bit out of position as opposed to normal, just stay calm, stay focused. Just you've only got 20 minutes left to go. Just try and stick onto the tail of JC and keep the gap to Taylor behind.
Exactly right. And we've had a question in chat from Minnie Sanders. Hello, Minnie Sanders, and hello everyone in chat. Black and white, is that a penalty? No, it's a final warning. And Sean Brimbacombe answers it for me right there. So yes, it's a warning only. You do not get a penalty, but it is the slap on the wrist that precedes the penalty there. So there are penalties for aggressive driving, dangerous driving that can be handed out by the stewards. And the black and white flag is basically your final warning before them. So yeah, that's how it goes. On board now with the rear camera view of Joshua Vediger up into P5 at this stage, and he's looking to hold off the advance of Brad Cook, who has made a little bit of a comeback at this stage of the race. So maybe that Porsche finding a window where things are looking a bit better. Maybe Joshua Vediger not having a particularly good run. So 2 Porsches having at it in the top 6 at the moment. Nice to see that. But yeah, the Ferrari at Valencia. What's the key to making that work? Is it high TC? Is it all in the setup, or is it just all in the wrists and how you drive the car?
So it doesn't quite have the top end of what your McLaren and stuff is, but it really, really is great through Sector 2. So if you can maximize your exits and your turns through Sector 2, like around this corner, it really loves just biting in, and you can be on all the throttle coming out pretty easily. But yeah, it's pretty much just like the TC kind of thing, anywhere from 5 to 7 if it's like kind of a bit more not optimal conditions, but 5 to 6 is really good, and then you just go from there.
Too right, and I did just see in chat that Convoy has 3 track warnings. He's managed to get another one because there is a drive-through. Jamie Convoy, our race leader, has a drive-through penalty. He comes into the pits now to serve it immediately. That is a disaster for him. He could have been maybe a bit more conservative on that, but he's used all his speed tokens. He's got himself a huge penalty. Drive through it is. Convoy will drop down the field. He'll drop potentially down into the bottom of the top 10, maybe even further down. There's a lot of cars coming through now. Very tricky to rejoin the circuit as well, especially in fast-moving traffic, Connor.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, even though you've got, like, it just spews you out on the turn 1, as you're going to see right here. So he still is allowed to hold the line and allowed to take it in. But yeah, I'm wondering if he pushed it just a little bit too much at T1. It's such an easy, even though you can take and extend beyond, say, the track limits themselves, because it's such a fast corner and you need to gain so much time through there. He might have just extended and spent one too many too quickly.
Too right. So, Grant Begg, our silver class driver, who's actually 7th overall in the driver championship, he's now up into P1. Max Hare there in the 55 car has just received a 10-second penalty for jumping the start on lap 1. And I can also report to you that the 559 Lamborghini, who we saw in the replay, causing that big incident at the start of this race, also got a 10-second penalty. And there's another one. Hugo Chan in the 18 car, a 10-second penalty for also jumping the start on lap 1. So a couple of drivers just getting on the throttle a little bit too soon before those green flags and green lights went out. And unfortunately, that's going to cost them 10-second penalties being handed out. But the biggest one so far, self-inflicted, unfortunately, for Convoy. You're absolutely right, probably turn 1. There's a couple of other places around the track where you can get very, very close to those track limit warnings. But turn 1 is usually the big culprit, as you said. He's now down in P19 from P1. But huge, huge opportunity here for Grant Begg in the Silver Class Championship to potentially take a win here in the first race. That's a fantastic swig of fate for him.
Yeah, well, as you said as well, it may not be turn 1, like that's one of the normal culprits, but like there's some other track limits here that you can't extend, so it's like you even put one tyre off the track and it's like, nah, you've got a penalty. So it could have been all throughout the lap, we never know. But yeah, Grant's just got to stay calm, just keep doing his lines, because he seemed to have a bit more pace than like Taylor and Kale and that behind him. So if you can just keep it together, he may be able to defend off for his first win.
He may indeed, but Christopher Taylor is on a charge at the moment. He's only about 0.3 or 0.4 of a second now behind Begg. And I wonder, we did see Begg, oh, that's very bumpy there in the Ferrari. Both the Ferrari and the McLaren do get a little bit odd around that curve there at turn 12. So you've got to be very, very careful on the exit, but it's a full commitment corner. You're basically a passenger as soon as you're around it. That's going to be a speed token used as well by Chris Taylor. He knows that first position is his for the taking. And I do wonder if Grant Begg, we saw him being rather, don't want to say bad on the controls, but zealous, lots of inputs. I wonder if those tires are maybe just starting to suffer a little bit, or he's overheated the tires just a little bit. It's entirely possible. Or maybe Christopher Taylor, who was back in, about 1.5 seconds down behind Begg, has maybe just been saving a little bit of grip, saving, keeping the tire temperatures down, and has now realized, right, it's time to go and absolutely send it.
Well, what's the McLaren like with its tyres over a stint? Like, I don't know, I haven't really driven it, but the Ferrari last night for me, the Ferrari's quite good on its tyres. Like, I didn't notice a real drop-off until right near the end.
Well, it was similar for McLaren, but I have to admit, I was running fairly conservative laps in the dirty air of cars all night long, so I don't actually know what it was 100% like if I was going full send on the car, and that does seem to be what Begg was doing. It looks a little bit dodgy there on oversteer. It could just be pressure. It could just come down to pressure, Connor. Some drivers know how to handle that pressure, can ignore the rear view mirror. But when you're in the race lead and staring down a victory, and you've got a fast pro driver in Christopher Taylor behind you, the pressure can really start to mount.
Oh, and as well with it too, like when it's your first time in the lead, like I don't think Grant's been in the lead before, but when it's your first time in the lead too, it's like it feels like a whole different task and lead compared to like what you're normally running.
Yeah, I think that's very, very true. I don't have the personal experience of that. You, of course, do. Very, very successful in your sprint series so far, and yeah, I don't know what that pressure's like. I mean, I know what the pressure's like when you've got a faster driver behind you, who you would consider in your mind to be obviously faster. I know that in those cases, you just have to put that fact out of your mind. Just keep to your lines, focus on the next apex, focus on the next exit, and as long as you can manage that, you should be in a good space. I mean, being up in P1 here and being under pressure is not a disastrous situation. If you can hold the car online and hold it through the apexes, there's really nowhere for a car to come through. So unless you make that mistake or get a really bad exit somewhere, you're pretty safe in there, even with a car right behind you.
Yeah, and exactly. And last night, I was battling Maloney, and the McLaren definitely can get out of a corner better than the Ferrari can. So Begg will have that on his side if he nails his exits, that he'll have a bit of the mumbo out of the corner to kind of keep Taylor behind. But again, then that's him focusing and nailing down his exits and his corners.
Precisely. So on board with Chris Taylor at the moment, we do know that Kale is only a second down the road behind Chris Taylor at this stage. So He'll be keeping a little watchful eye, but at the moment he's full focus, I'm sure, is Chris Taylor, out the front of his Ferrari 296, because that race win is only a 0.3 of a second in front of him. Just needs to, find a way through. And as we were saying earlier, especially what Connor was saying about, you really need to force an error from the other driver. He'll know that that Grant Begg up here probably is not a typical visitor to the top spot in a race, so might be able to find some way to force that error. Personally, I don't really know how to force errors on drivers other than just sticking noses offline and trying to suggest that I'm going to go for a dive when I'm not. But maybe that's the technique. Maybe that's what Chris Taylor will try and do today. But he's certainly looking quite comfortable in the car and holding a decent gap. Begg's actually got a couple of good corners through Sector 2. So he's looking pretty happy at the moment. 11.5 minutes left in this race. So still a long way to go, technically speaking, although only a third race distance. Can Begg hold on? Can Chris get past? That's the question.
Yeah, that's exactly right. As one ball with Lewis coming into the corner. He just got, he's got another Ferrari on the inside of Wood, I believe that is. And Vediger in the actual Coke Porsche seemed to go through, not the zero variant. As Lewis is wide and he's spun it. Yeah, he's got spooked there. Just ran, and he's zipping it around. Just re-enter the track safely. Let everyone go past. Yeah, you got to really watch those rejoins.
Yeah, tricky place to rejoin. I mean, sometimes you really just need to be the better man in some cases, man or woman, and just stay offline a little bit longer. But he does make it work just ahead of Carter. So a whole train of cars here, Carter, Huare, and Chan all holding 10-second penalties. I've just seen Hayden Marsh in the 27 car getting a drive-through as well. So he's the second person to get a drive-through. So maybe finding a couple of extra limits with his new Moser gear at this stage of the race. But Ashley Vediger now under a lot of pressure. That was very close from Wood, and you're absolutely right. That is Wood in the 600 Ferrari, the green Ferrari there. Now under a lot of pressure as well from the BMW of Traynor, who is a pro-class driver, so will be quite quick. And there's Comboy right in the back of this train as well. Sorry, that's actually Lawrence there. Hold on, is that Comboy in the back of that? I think it is. No, that's Salvaggio. Sorry, timing screens have been a little bit odd recently in ACC, especially at Valencia for some reason. So that is actually Salvaggio in the back of that 4-pack, but just behind them is Comboy, who's managed to make his way back up to P16 so far. So yeah, he's making a bit of a drive back, but he won't be able to do much more than that. I don't think he's in for a top 10 finish here today in the last 10 minutes.
There's a massive gap between these cars. So the car that's in front of them, which is Ring, and then the gap to P10 is about 8 seconds. So yeah, like he could aim for like 12th, 13th, maybe 11th if he really tucks in over the next 9 minutes. Like JC's capable. But as you watch him get up on the back of Salvaggio. But yeah, I think P10 is probably just a bit much of an ask with how far they're gapped out.
Yeah, absolutely. And Salvaggio, that probably is how you're supposed to pronounce his name, Salvaggio. Someone I've actually commentated on, and he goes quite wide. Comboy will take the inside line. He'll go up into turn 2 nicely on the inside. Good stuff there from Comboy. Nice little move. And Salvaggio has no answer to that whatsoever. Wood, who's now putting pressure on Ashley Vediger, is the one holding a 10-second penalty, so he will drop well out of this battle pack, but he's put a lot of pressure on that Coke with sugar variant of the Porsche. Of course, Ashley Vediger being the father of Joshua Vediger, who's up in P4 at the moment, and on board now with Brad Cook, who's still in the charge behind the Zero Sugar live-read Porsche ahead of him. So yeah, Brad Cook, he's had an okay day out, but he's dropped a couple of those positions, especially at the start. Just wasn't really ideal for him. But, overall, that's still a good day out on debut in Split Blue.
Yeah, you can't complain about a top 5, top 4, top 3, even a top 6, a top 10, really. Is definitely a decent day out in terms of how capable most of these splits are. As we're on board with Begg. Begg's still leading. He's maintained the 0.6, 0.5 gap as Aftel Sebi gets a 15-second penalty for being a bit naughty on lap 1. So naughty. Don't do that again.
That's right. That's the old slap on the wrist. The penalty being applied by the stewards, clicking their pens and doing an excellent job. They were pretty busy actually throughout this race, haven't they? They haven't really had a huge break, the stewards. So I'm sure the race director will be on the comms with the drivers for race 2, saying, "Hey, just calm it down a little bit. Just drive a bit safer." But it is one of those tracks that sort of invites those big sends, isn't it? You just can't avoid it in a lot of corners.
It's the nature of the track, so like it invites the big sends because it's so hard to overtake, and drivers get impatient behind, and then get a bit frustrated, and then that lapse in concentration happens.
Yeah, Minnie Sanders in chat saying, "Can't complain if you ... finish." Commentators ... yes, that's right, absolutely right. That was also a bit wide there from Begg, so he's really starting to feel the pressure now. 6 minutes 40 seconds left in this race and more penalties being handed out. That's Bennett Ring, the AM class driver, leading the AM class at the moment. That's a 5-second penalty at this stage, might be upgraded to a 10-second. We will see, but your class leaders at the moment overall, Silver class being led by Grant Begg, who's actually in P1 overall. Chris Taylor leading out the pro class and under a bit of pressure from Kale. Very important result here for Kale because with Comboy all the way down and Vediger all the way down as well, he will be taking a handy bunch of points into the pro championship and will hopefully get himself back up into the P2 maybe P1 in the championship. So he'll want another result like that in race 2. Bowen in P6 overall is leading the Pro-Am class, and then Bennett, who's just picked up that 5-second penalty, leading the AM class with 6 minutes remaining.
Yeah, there could be a few movers and shakers coming up in terms of the championship. Like, I'm not too caught up with the championship battles at the moment, but yeah, there could be quite a few movers and shakers.
Too right. That Comboy drive-through is a real shift, unfortunately. He's currently in the lead of the championship, everyone, leading by 1 point over Joshua Vediger. So even just having Vediger coming 4th and being in 13th place as Comboy, yeah, that could be a real disaster for his championship contention. He was actually leading our championship after the first race of the season. That's the 5-second penalty there. Lap 11 collision for Bennett Ring. So getting a little bit naughty there, I think. A little bit naughty. But down the straight we go to begin the 17th lap of this race. 5 minutes now remaining in this race, and leading us away, the Monster Energy McLaren of Grant Begg, and he's actually pulled a little bit of a gap there to Taylor.
I'm wondering if the battling and the staying behind in the dirty air of the McLaren has kind of backed Taylor up into Kale. Like, Kale's an incredibly quick driver himself, so he's probably had some merit on his own pace to be catching up here, but I reckon the battling has kind of backed these two up into him to make it a 3-car race with 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, the dirty air is a big talking point, actually. You're running that close to a car. I'd say it's a fairly aero-dependent track, but these cars as well, the McLaren, from my experience, relies entirely on its ability to use that aero on the car. One bit of damage on it, and you feel it immediately. I don't know how similar that is for the Ferrari. I've had damage on a Ferrari before, and it felt okay, but you might know different. But for the Lambo, which is not always great on its tires anyway, being in the dirty air is not going to be a help. But you're right, Taylor has just slipped down. He's now a second back from Begg. So you're right, probably the dirty air. Maybe Chris Taylor's just a bit worried about taking home a P2 now and keeping Kale behind.
Ferrari front damage is all right. Ferrari rear and back damage, no good.
So that's, yeah, so don't think Taylor's holding any damage from, I don't recall any situation that he's picked up any damage in this race so far, but for whatever reason, he is falling now off the speed of Begg, and Begg is absolutely going for it, just defending there very intently from Kale. He'll have to go through the apex relatively slowly. Kale now we're on board with, who is looking at the back of Taylor and sticking a nose in here and there at every corner, at every opportunity that he can find. Taylor is just, I think, maybe looking a little bit too much in the rear view mirror now, but rightly so, because, I mean, Kale is just rapid at this stage of the race. Oh, on the outside, can he make it happen? No, backs out of it again, but yeah, that was close.
Taylor needs to be careful here to not defend just clean air. He really needs to focus on his own race, on his own exits, and on his own lines, and then if Kale does make a move, defend them when the move's about to happen.
Yeah, that is a very, very good point, actually, because at the end of the day, as you were saying earlier on in this race, it's hard to overtake if people are holding the line. The fastest line here is on the racing line. It's a tight circuit, and if you hold that racing line and continue to go fast, people behind are not going to have an opportunity. They have an opportunity when you go offline, when you don't take that faster line through this tricky circuit. And it's the exact example of what you were talking about earlier, Connor, happening here with Taylor going very defensive in the second sector of the race, and now he's got a little bit of breathing room, but yeah, that breathing room is going to disappear quite rapidly if he goes offline again.
Yeah, especially until he's gone defensive here. See, protect your line, yep, and just make sure, but he's got to really get a good exit down here to cover him off, which he does. He covers him off, and Kale's going to tuck back in and go again, probably around the whole lap, or even towards the end of the next lap. They'll get, yeah, they'll get one more lap in.
Yeah, I think they will get one more lap in, you're right. There is traffic ahead now for Beg, but that traffic will get out of the way. Of course, it will be showing the blue flag, so there won't be any issue there at all. All the drivers, of course, being briefed on blue flags. So everyone knows what's going on with the big rule book. And that's another close one for Kale. Defensive again for Taylor. So, yeah, I mean, just got to be careful going defensive like that. I mean, that's probably the one quarter that it doesn't make too much of a difference. As long as you hold your line through there, it doesn't really matter how much speed you're going through. Big speed there for Kale, though. And I thought as well, Chris Taylor was very slow through turn 1. Didn't look like he's got the confidence. Now, I do wonder, Connor, maybe he's got 3 track limits and he's trying to be very careful and cautious around the track. Maybe that's part of the reason why he's not looking so fast through corners like turn 1. Will this be a good run, though, for Kale out of the last corner? Does look pretty decent, and we know how much power that Lamborghini has in a straight line. This could be a potential move into P2 for Kale. Can he make it happen? He's still in the slipstream, pulls out. He's got the overspeed, but not enough. Too late down the straight to make anything happen. And there's the blue flag traffic ahead, so they're both going to have to navigate this. Pulls out the way, does the blue flag traffic. Good job there from that McLaren driver, and this battle will continue. 10 seconds on the clock, leader on the final lap.
Yeah, it's good kind of toing and froing by these two. Good lines taken, lots of respect. No one's ended up into each other, so that's a bonus. But I'm wondering the same as well now. Oh, and Jamie Comboy comes through with a 10-second penalty. He's up into P11, so he has mitigated it a little bit, but he will drop down again. But I'm wondering as well with Taylor, if Taylor has got 3 track limits.
I think he might. I mean, maybe we can get some confirmation. Oops, excuse me. Some confirmation for those in chat that have that information on their screen. But I think that would explain a few things. It would explain why he backed off from Grant Begg. It would explain why he's being very defensive and very conservative into corners and opening up opportunities for Kale. Now they're on the last lap. It looks like he's really just put the foot down again, and the gap has opened up a bit to Kale. So, but, here we are, last lap, across the line. A victory. I think a maiden victory here for Grant Begg. Top job. He kept it in all race. Really, really solid stuff. And a silver category driver will take the win of race 1. Chris Taylor comes in P2, Kale P3. Joshua Vediger there takes P4. Cook across the line in that Porsche for P5. Bowen will follow him across in P6. Then we've got McKellar. He'll take the 2nd spot in the silver championship there for the results of this race. Bowen there, of course, winning the Pro-Am category. Chris Taylor winning the silver, the Pro category. Thistleweight across the line under a bit of pressure from Bell there and Apreciado. And then there is Comboy, who will be coming across the line now. That is going to put him, I think, down into P17, P18, Connor. It's gone a little bit bad to worse there. So he's got the track limits, the drive-through, and then at the end of the race, he's come into contact with another car, trying to recoup a result, and unfortunately has made it worse for himself.
He's just got to rely on staying calm and getting a good result the next one.
Yeah, completely right. And we've got some comments in chat. Shuey for Begg. Yeah, I think Connor, I think a Shuey is in order for Begg here, especially if it's a maiden victory. We will try and check that statistic, but yeah, Grant Begg. What an absolutely brilliant drive in race 1 that is. Across the line here, Hayden Marsh takes P24 after serving a drive-through. So very unfortunate. He was actually up in P15 earlier on Hayden Marsh, but does fall down. Now, so that was race 1, everyone. We're going to be moving on to the next qualifying session immediately. So another 12 minutes now out on track for qualifying 2. And we'll see who can pull out the lap times. It's 30 degrees on track now. So it's gone a little bit faster on track. No worries, Glenn, at all. I'm sure we'll have our stream back up momentarily. Oh, is it also... No, we're all good here. So 12 minutes of qualifying will continue. Brilliant. There we go. So
what a race 1, though.
Oh, yeah. Race 1. Brilliant. I mean, genuinely good stuff, and some reasonably good battles around there. I mean, the situation with Chris Taylor and Kale at the end, I would love to know a little bit more about what happened there in terms of the track limit situation, because I think, over a 30-minute race, the tires, they don't die that much. If this was a 60-minute race, then you'd see the tire degradation coming into it. You'd see people be a bit more conservative at the start, and the track's not too hot, I think. I think we've seen hotter at Valencia.
Yeah, we have. Like, some of the enduro stints, I believe, were quite a bit hotter than this. But yeah, I don't know that. Like, in the quali scenario, the tires obviously are going to drop off a little bit because you want that maximum apex grip. But yeah, in the race, you can look after the tires as well by not sliding too much, not trying to scrub the tires too much going in and out of corners. But now I'm interested to see how Beg goes in race 2 and if he can replicate it or be up there again as well.
Indeed. And we were just looking at the Synthwave Livery 296. Beg should be able to put on another good lap. He did set the fastest lap in race 1, which I believe was a 1:30.53 or something like that. It was definitely a 1:30.5. A lot of people here, as I understand it, Connor, and you might be of the same philosophy here, do choose to run a qualifying setup through a 30-minute race. You just slap in a bit more fuel and run the same setup. Do you reckon that's probably the right move here? That's what I personally would think of as the right move to do, but maybe that could affect the tires a little bit more if you're in a quali trim.
You speaking to someone who runs one setup week in, week out. So I run quali and race setup the same. I just change the fuel and do whatever. But yeah, for here, for most of these short races, you can really get away with running your quali setup as the race setup, because realistically, you're going to be putting in 40 to 50 litres of fuel.
Yeah.
So it's a short stint at most, if that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be... Yeah, you're not putting a full tank in. You're putting less than half of a tank in, really. The car's reasonably light still. I mean, the fact that we've seen a 1:30.5, which was basically the same as the top quali time in quali 1 in the race, I think goes to show, doesn't it, at the end of the day? So for all of you out there, if you do run multiple setups, have a think about running your quali trim. It's definitely the way to go. Yeah, and the car, of course, feels reasonably fine, I think, on 50 litres of fuel. I mean, I personally don't have an issue driving that at all. Some people still like to race, I'm sure, like to race a race setup. But, the one setup for the weekend, that's certainly the go here today. Got Beg here. He's up on his time at the moment, which he needs to be because his previous lap was a 1:32.9. But he'll find some time, I'm sure. And currently leading us away with a good lap out there, 1:30.852 from Brad Cook. Doing very well. And then we've got Chris Taylor, Paul Bowen, Traynor, who's up in P4 at the moment. But we're only a few minutes into qualifying. We will see the times drop rapidly, I suspect.
Be interesting to see how JC goes as well, considering he had the unfortunate circumstance of getting the drive-through whilst leading the race. So really, to keep his championship hunt alive, he really needs to put it in P1 or P2 and hopefully come away with the win.
Exactly right. Yeah, he has to win this next one. Yeah, the points difference between, because he finished P13, I believe, or no, P17 or something like that. So we'll have to check in on that after all of this is said and done. But that's a very significant points deficit. So he really does, as you say, really does need to come in that P1 slot. He'll be coming around for a lap right now and goes up. That wasn't his car that came across the line, was it? No, it wasn't. So he still needs to put in a lap there. Does Convoy? That was, I think, Beg coming across the line there. Yes, he does. He's up in the P4. That's not a bad job. There's Convoy there. So thank you, Glenn, for jumping on board. I was getting my colours mixed up. Might have to go get a colour blindness test. But Jamie Convoy not to set a lap so far in 6 minutes of qualifying. But maybe he's feeling a little bit of pressure now.
Yeah, he could. Maybe it's pressure, or maybe as well, like, I know sometimes you can be, if you're not going to set a good lap or set a good time, you can always just slightly invalidate it to then get your head back in the game to then go again. But then also it's better to put a time on the board. But yeah, he's kind of really lost he's lost the championship lead, but he kind of, the turnaround is massive, being a point up to what probably going to be 40, 50, maybe 60 points down.
Yeah, exactly right. He needed to be a top 3 position in that race there, with Kale and Vediga, I think, finishing 3rd and 5th respectively in that first race. They're going to be bagging a bunch of points. It's going to throw them at least, I think we get 100 points for the race win here, don't we? So, yeah, they're going to be running 80 or 90 points there for those guys. So, Convoy, though, does go on pole. So, there we go. There's the comeback starting to happen already for Convoy, a 1:30.540. That's a pretty decent time, but 5 thousandths of a second. 5 thousandths of a second separating him and Kale at the moment.
That is tied up the top with Kale and Convoy. And Cook is only 3/10 down as we watch on board, and Taylor goes into P3 with a 0.7, less than 2/10 down. So top 5 again, even with Beg in 6th, only separated by under half a second.
Yeah, very, very close at the top. And yeah, we haven't seen anyone get close to that elusive 129 just yet. Here's Beg again. Stays P6 though, so that was an improvement on his time, I think, but stays P6 as we do see a car go very wide in the background.
It was his out lap, I believe, that last lap was, because he's put on a fresh set.
Okay, cool. Thank you for keeping an eye on that. I got myself mixed up. And now looking at Chris Taylor, who is finding a bit of time. He's a 10th of a second up as he comes through the exit of turn 7 into turn 8 now. We'll keep an eye on him and see if he can improve. Chris Taylor only needs 0.17 of a second, which he has right now in the hand, to get up ahead of Kale and potentially into the lead. But there is a stonking lap from Jamie Convoy. He is stapling his identity all over that P1 pole position, because that's a 1:30.220, and now he's 3/10 clear of Kale.
It's an absolute banger of a lap. He's really pushing, it's good to see, because I reckon he's going to have a bit of chip on his shoulder this race.
Yeah, I think most of us would, especially if it was a self-inflicted drive-through penalty. Sometimes when you get in contact, you can be a bit frustrated, but sometimes I find that's easier to get over than something like a drive-through, or if you accidentally spin or bin it yourself. Across the line goes Beg once again, does improve, but not enough to get up at all. He'll come back to the pits again and try and go out for another couple of laps there, trying to maximize the grip on his tires. There's philosophies around that as well. Do you stay out longer? How much fuel do you put on board, etc.? But you're absolutely right. He is Convoy here in P1 has done a brilliant job to get himself back up into contention. And if he can just avoid the drive-through this time, avoid the drive-through, accept the fact that that's a bit wide. That'll be oh no, he's just managed to keep that as a valid lap. Lost a bit of time through there. As long as you can, hold on to your line and drive, at a reasonably decent pace, you're not going to have to worry too much about the car behind. So if he can take away the lead on the race start, hold that line into turn 1, turn 2, and get away, even if it's 0.5 of a second, 0.6 of a second, and just avoid those drive-throughs as much as possible. Cook there does improve as well.
Yeah, it'll be about holding his line and seeing if in the first couple of laps he can extend and break the toe. to get away, and then it's just management of where the track is, like trying not to spend too many speed tokens, trying just keep it on the black stuff. Doesn't matter if then it kind of brings the other guys back in by a couple of tenths, but just so you can maintain that win. Because to keep his championship alive, he really has to finish in P1, maybe P2.
Yeah, P2 even would be, yeah, I mean, you'd still get some very, very reasonable points there for P2. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to start on pole, he's obviously got the speed. There's Thistlewaite going for a bit of a spinneroo at turn 12.
He definitely can't park there.
Yep, he can't park there, sir. No, not at all. It's not the racing line, sadly, going the reverse direction out through the Herreros corner. But, you know, sometimes you can't avoid it. It's a full commitment corner, that turn 12. It really is. I mean, if you get it wrong, you're a passenger.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, like, I've seen some people do some absolutely godly catches through there and saves and stuff, but it's really a 98% you are just a passenger to whatever the game's going to throw at you.
Yeah, too right. How does the Ferrari handle that curb? I've seen it bouncing around quite a bit, but is it one of those slightly dodgier cars, or is it okay on that exit?
It bounces around a little bit. You can mitigate it with a little bit of setup, but it's not like your Mercedes, your BMW and stuff that can just absolutely eat the curb like nothing exists in this world kind of thing. So, but it is what it is. You just have to adjust your line through it. And
yeah, so Sithlemate must have got that very, very wrong, because Mercedes is usually quite good at eating those curbs, and so it must have got very, very, very wide and just went for a spinneroo. So just to cover off what's going on in the qualifying right now, we are on the last laps for everyone on track now. Convoy is still finding a little bit of time, but his nearest competitor is 0.3 of a second down. He's just found 0.2 there, Connor. Whoa, this could be spicy, but you know, it'll depend on how fast Kale and Cook are going as well. Kale just came through for his previous lap, didn't improve really at all, and neither did Cook. Cook's in the tow now of Convoy, not the slipstream, but he's just behind him on track. That's a good run through. No, it's not actually. Through turn 12. He's lost a bit of time there. I don't think this lap's going to be particularly consequential. Kale's in the pit. Taylor's in the pit. Vediger's in the pit. Everyone else is in the pit. The only person who's not is Cook behind. So lost a bit of time, and looks like Cook is not gaining any time. So Convoy will be on pole for the start of race 2. It's a great job from the man there in the McLaren. And Kale will take P2 in this start. P3 will go to Cook. So good job by all of them, and that's an invalid lap for that driver. Appreciado here. Finding a bit of time as well, and poor P14 currently in that Porsche.
it's really an authoritative, like, just stamping his authority on this race and this session in Jamie Conboy's lap. So I'm keen. I'm keen for the race.
Yep, it's going to be a good one. I really hope that JC can just focus on avoiding those track limits. You know, I mean, there's some philosophy that says, you know, if you don't use all your speed tokens by the end of the race, you haven't really, you haven't used the maximum speed. This is going to be a good lap here for Appreciado as he goes across the line, 2.5 tenths up on his time. Good enough for P12. So good result there for the number 11 car. But there's some other philosophies, which is don't use any of your speed tokens or your track limit warnings there, because if you do have a couple of mistakes, you do run wide accidentally, or are forced to through an overtake or being overtaken, then you've got a margin for error. And that's the philosophy that I subscribe to, the latter. So here we are. We are going to be going into race 2 momentarily. Of course, the drivers now get the opportunity to change their setups, adjust anything they need to. And we'll probably have another look through the grid at some point. Maybe not, because we have had a look already. But just a reminder, folks, for all you watching in chat, thank you very much for the chat engagement so far. A couple of comments here. Some talking about raw lizard meat. Oh dear, I don't know what that's all about. Let's go JC, DT this time. No DT this time. Oh dear, hopefully I haven't just cursed him. But Diabol saying, let's go JC. And nothing less than absolute vodka, low quality drink. Okay, so there's some interesting stuff happening in chat right now. Vodka and lizards, very interesting. But welcome in to everyone in chat. You are watching the Octane Online Racing Simrigs.com Sprint Series. It's season 14, round 7. There's 10 rounds in total in this season, and we are coming up to the sort of final parts of this brilliant season. I've really enjoyed it so far, and a 10 race season as well, Connor. Brilliant. It's a good length, I think.
Yeah, I'm honestly a fan of the longer season because it gives those people, so like JC tonight, I know it's happened at a kind of an inopportune time, but he's still got 3 races to make up for it, whereas opposed with the shorter seasons, 1 or 2 bad races and your championship contention, if you're in that kind of class, is done.
Yeah, exactly right. And on your screen right now, before we continue that conversation, tune in tomorrow night because we do have the continuation of the finals in the SimMagic GT3 Cup. It has been held in coordination with Motorsport Australia. It's been a brilliant, brilliant season so far. We are going to Valencia as well for a 2-race, 1 stop on each race situation, and you'll be joined in the comms box by a number of our top guys, and they're going to have a lot of fun watching the races tomorrow. So make sure you tune in tomorrow on this YouTube channel here for Octane Online Racing for that GT3 Cup. It is going to be absolutely amazing to watch.
Yeah, it's good racing all round, whether you're watching the Pro-Am split or the Pro split. Some of the fastest people in the region competing, nose to tail, especially at a track like this. Can't wait.
Yep, going to be brilliant. Are you racing in that?
Yeah, I'm in the Pro split, so yeah, it'll be good fun. I haven't had a good start to it as my lap ones have ended by turn 1, as I've got in a few little whoopsies and stuff like that, but there's still 4 more to go.
Yep, that's right. It's very close competition in there, especially, I mean, in the Pro category as well. There's so many unbelievably quick drivers. It's just absolutely unbelievable. I'm luckily driving as well. I'm back of the pack in Pro-Am, mate. I'm not nowhere near as fast as anyone in the Pro-Am class, let alone the Pro class. So, but of course, we do wish you good luck for tomorrow. Tricky race to do. So hopefully, turn 1 doesn't become an issue for you tomorrow.
Some of my, if some of my teammates are in chat, Benjamin Hignett especially, they will know my luck in turn 1 is not really good on this game for some reason. I just have a big target on my car. I don't know why. I don't know how, but you know, luck's got to go your way somehow.
Yeah, exactly. At some point, the luck does swing. So, well, hopefully Valencia is the race where that does happen for you. And we wish everyone who's participating good luck in there. I'm just going to be trying to chill out and not have a major accident like I've nearly had in the earlier parts of that and the qualifiers, where I was a bit of trouble, sadly. But nonetheless, we'll rapidly moving on from that. We're on our formation lap now for the beginning of race 2. And the question is, will Beg be able to repeat an amazing performance? He is the top silver category driver again. Will Comboy be able to bring home a victory? He absolutely needs to. It's critical for his championship charge right now. Kale is in P2, and the other championship contender there is Joshua Vediga in P5. All 3 of them need to get a good start, but it's most critical right now for Comboy with the P17 result at the back. And there is Hayden Marsh as well. We're on board with the 27 cars that go through the final quarter side by side. They go, and we will see. Connor, I'll give it over to you for this race start here.
So they're coming down. Comboy, Kale in P1 and P2. It's going to be hard to go past Comboy, really, with that kind of lap as they're rolling down. The light should be going green anytime soon. It'll be interesting to see who, as it goes green. They all seem to get off to a pretty good start. Kale's got a good start there on the outside, as does Comboy. He's going to protect the line on the inside. Kale's sweeping around the outside. Taylor's jumped a spot and jumped Cook, but Cook may dive late on the brakes here. We don't know yet. Kale has swept around the outside into P1 from Jamie Comboy. That is what a move.
Beautiful move, and it all started right from the start. The Lamborghini got a great run off. That's Brad Cook and Beg having contact there and collecting another car for good measure. So I'm not quite sure what's happened there. We will get that on a replay, but I suspect that Beg might have just touched the rear there of Cook into turn 4. That's a disaster for Brad Cook. He's gone from right at the top to right at the back of this grid and followed along with another car there as well. We'll have to find that on a replay at some point. But the top 3 away from the start. It is Kale leading the way in this Lamborghini, from Comboy in his McLaren, from Taylor in his Ferrari, 3 classes of car in the top 3, and we've got a Porsche in P4, a BMW in P5, so the top 5 cars, all different, which is brilliant to see. Yeah, Comboy, he's going to have to find a way past Kale and do it very soon. The Lamborghini was very good off the start, as you said. Into turn 1, went round the outside. Jamie Comboy couldn't really do anything about it and decided to back out of it in turn 2. I think he had a top opportunity to brake late, but you want to be careful of doing that in race 1. At this stage, as you said earlier, a P2 taking home for Comboy would still keep him in this championship.
And, like, as self-inflicted as race 1 was for JC, you really kind of want to stay out of the instance. So it's probably wise of him to back out there at the start and just, like, you know, start chipping away at the back of Kale. Kale's no easy person to pass either. So it'll be interesting to see the kind of battle that they get in the next 28 laps with. I'm going to guess Taylor will probably just sit there as well, and he won't make too many moves. He'll just kind of assess the situation and then pounce if anything does go awry up the front.
Yeah, too right. When we saw that from Chris Taylor last race as well, he was quite happy to sit in behind and just manage his tyres. He was struggling towards the end and under pressure from Kale. So, but at this stage, based on qualifying, we know that Comboy's got more pace in that McLaren than Kale does in the Lamborghini, and this is really the race where you want to bring out the maximum advantage of that McLaren. The Lamborghini is strong in a lot of other races. We saw that especially, in fact, at Paul Ricard a few races ago. Really for Comboy, it's a tricky dilemma to be in, though. You're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place. You don't want to be making a big send on a track that can really lead to a disaster. Hard to overtake, tricky sends that need to be done, etc. But at the same time, he really needs to get ahead of Kale, and he will know that he's got the speed to do it.
That's the thing as well. Like when you know you've got the pace, but you're just stuck behind someone and can't get past them, you end up lapping at their pace just like instinctively because you're just sitting there behind them in the draft. So it'll be interesting to see when and where JC makes the move, if he comes right up behind him like he is, or even more so to kind of, you know, have a go at it.
Brilliant. So we are watching a replay now. This is Beg. And, oh, sorry, that is Vediger. Sorry, my apologies. It is indeed Vediger. So Vediger went into the back of Brad Cook there. But thank you for the correction there from Glenn. Thank you for the replay. So that is what happened. And so Beg ended up getting collected in that. Yes, that is indeed championship ramifications as well. So that will be a big penalty, I think, for Vediger. Yeah, he's picked up a 15-second penalty there. And there's Comboy on the inside. They're going side by side now down towards turn 12. Comboy backs out of it, but Kale's run wide. Kale's run very wide. And that is the lead of the race now for Comboy, but he's under pressure from Taylor as well. But that penalty from for Vediger there, that has got big implications. 15 seconds is going to drop him down to a similar place that Comboy got dropped down to towards the end of the race after that 10-second penalty he got. So that means that the two of them at the top, Vediger and Comboy, potentially are going to get an equal sort of result between the two races, with Vediger probably losing out because he's not currently in P1 in this race.
The literal benefactor of this whole kind of session so far, or both races, is going to be if Kale can put it in P1 or P2, or even P3, he's going to take a pretty big hold on the championship.
Yeah, he will. And he will skyrocket above those two because he's had a consistent result. Where did he come? He came P5, I think, in the previous race. And now he's on for a top 3 with both of his championship contenders having a bit of a disaster in one race or another. By the way, we just did see it turn 2. Chris Taylor running very wide. Kale managed to get back through. So made the move very nicely. I think there might be there's a yellow flag down the order as well. Don't know who that is, but we also saw Beg get a drive-through. I do think that was for track limit. So within 2 laps of this race, sadly for Beg, he's gone and done what Comboy did last time, except he's done it in the first 2 laps of this race, Connor.
When it rains, it pours in this game, and Beggs experienced all the highs, and now it's just all come crashing down, unfortunately. But it'll be a good experience for him to, take it on board that, it's not all. You've still got another race to do in these 2 races, and he has got that 1 race win, so he's had a good night overall, really.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, you take that any day of the week, and he's not sitting particularly high up in the championship either for the silver category. So, coming in last place potentially, or 22nd at the moment, has not got massive implications for him in the championship. But you've just got your first race win. You go and have a casual Sunday drive and race too, especially if you've had a drive-through as well. It's time to take the throttle off a little bit and enjoy yourself, and don't worry about the result. Huare there now in P22. Picking up a 15-second penalty there. And what has happened to Joshua Vediger? Joshua Vediger is no longer on the timing tower as it is right now. I think he's had a major issue. We might be able to pull that up on a replay at some point. We did see a yellow flag out earlier on, about a lap and a half ago, but we'll see if we'll pull up a replay of that a little bit later on. Right now, Chris Taylor still trying to find a way back past Kale, who he did overtake earlier on, but now finds himself behind the Lamborghini driver as they come through turn 12. Once again, good line from both of them through there, putting the power on nice and early. That's a really fun corner, actually. I really, really like that corner, despite the danger in it. Once you get that power down, just coming through the apex, it is a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And when you hook it up, and it feels so right going through there. But if, going back to Vediger, if Vediger has dropped off the whole entire timing board or has DC issues, that's going to cancel out pretty much Convoy and Vediger with 1 bad race each and 1 good result if Convoy can stay where he is now. And again, it's just allowing Ethan Kale to just grab those few extra points and stretch it even more.
Yeah, exactly right. And this doesn't matter how far you are out in front in P1, if your championship contender has had a P2 and a P5, at the end of the day, they are going to bag more points than you if you got P1 and P17, which is the case for Convoy. So that will launch Kale back up into this championship. I'll just have a little look. I think he's only about, he's about 43 points currently is the difference between Jamie Convoy and Kale. So, yeah, that would be the difference between a P1 and a P17 finish, wouldn't it? Easily, in fact.
Well, I don't know if he got P5 or P3 in race 1. I can't remember, but say he got either of them, I reckon that's going to put him 20 or 30 points clear in front.
Yeah, should do. I think P17, you're getting down towards getting only about, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, anyone in chat, but I believe something in the range of 15 or 16 points. So the deficit there is well over 80 points. You're absolutely spot on. It could be getting clear of Convoy there by 20, maybe even 40 points in this. There's the fastest lap coming through for Jamie Convoy. He's really putting the foot down, but as we said, you can win by 1 millisecond or you can win by 10 seconds, and the points do not change for you. By the way, we've seen Chris Taylor using a few of his speed tokens. I hear some calculators going in chat. Maybe there's a few people that'll tell us that they're going to start multiplying the cytomers. Oh dear, okay. The cytomers are returned. Sorry, what was that? Kind of my bad. Oh, so that. I see. Okay, cool. So we've just had the message there from Glenn. Here's the replay of Vediger. Let's see what happened. No, not clear what's happened to Joshua Vediger there, but the way that he's gone off and then tried to get started again, yeah, he's hitting the accelerator. That does look like a hardware issue that he's encountered. The wheel that he has is disconnected, the wheel base or something. That looks like something to do with hardware. So that's our suspicion at this stage. Really unfortunate for Vediger having that issue as well as that 15-second penalty. And that, yeah, as we said before, that has massive implications in this championship.
It's unfortunate as well for that kind of, like both Convoy and Vediger, those kind of instance and issues that they've had are not like a kind of a well, Comboys is in his control, but it's like that kind of heartbreaking kind of stuff. Whereas Vediges was completely like out of his control if it was a mechanical issue.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, very unfortunate for him. Unfortunately, that 15-second penalty he got going into the back of Brad Cook. Unless there was a hardware-related issue to that as well, then that unfortunately is just the nature of things. And yeah, Connor, I'm just noticing all the Saitama messages in chat as well. The all hail Saitama approval from yourself, the man spreading the Saitamas around the server. How's that going?
I am all for it. Saitama is going to overtake OR. Sorry, Mul. But it's just how it is. You know, he's the face of legend.
Very much so, yeah. For those of you who don't know who we're talking about, that is the main character of the manga and anime series One Punch Man. But nonetheless, before I start to hail the cult of Saitama that is taking over OR, let's focus back on the race. Ashley Vediger here, we're on board with him. He's under a whole bunch of pressure from Lewis in the 959 Ferrari there, so a nice battle going down. This is for P11 in the race, and just ahead of them is Chan, who is second. Oh, and that's a very nice move down the inside. Big send there from Lewis. He's got the move done. Ashley Vediger's going to have maybe just a little bit more speed down the straight, and he has got Sebi right behind him as well. So they will go side by side potentially into turn one. Will Lewis hold the line? Let's see. He holds the inside line but backs out of it, and Joshua Vediger will retake that P11 position. And there's a fight going on above between Traynor and Chan, which we momentarily jump to, and that's another inside move, and Lewis has gone through again. So there we go, and the two drivers ahead of them in Traynor and Chan, both holding 10-second penalties in this race, and that means that Vediger is staring down a handy P9 finish in race 2.
Yeah, absolutely, especially if he can hold on the handy P9 finish, especially in a battle pack like this. Like this battle pack's starting to form up into a train of like 6-7 cars.
Yeah, if they back up anymore, it'll be 9 cars, actually. You're right. Yes, I love when battle packs like this start to form. And they're all, holding their lines for the most part. The only battle that was really happening there was Vediger and Lewis, but ahead of them, McKellar and Traynor battling it out is bringing that pack back into it. Those two will drop down well below the pack that we're currently on board with. But yeah, Ashley Vediger losing out there. He doesn't need to worry. This is still a top 10 finish for him, and I think he'll be pretty stoked with that.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know exactly where Ashley Vediger runs, but if you're in Pro-Am or even like Silver, top 10 finishes are like a really good end result, really, for your day.
Yeah, they're often few and far between as well in some cases, especially for the likes of Pro-Am and Am class drivers. And Sebi at the moment, he's been impressive in the Am class. He's got a few really good results this season and done very, very well. He's currently up, I believe, in second of the Am class. James Lawrence is actually down in P19. So James Lawrence is the one leading the Am class at the moment. Salvaggio has got a 5-second penalty for causing a collision on lap 3. So we didn't see that on the replay, sadly. Excuse me, but that will be handed out by the stewards. So the stewards have had their work cut out for them, unfortunately, in split blue today. That's a bit wide there from Traynor as well, and a drive-through it is for Traynor, so the BMW will have to come in the next 3 laps. And now under pressure, there's Lewis on the inside. Chan tried to have a look as well, but Lewis will have the inside line through turn 8, and runs a bit wide there, side by side through turn 9. The outside line there for Chan will turn onto the inside line, which it does. Lewis gets very squiggly. That's very wide on the marbles there for Traynor as well. And there's a spin. Ashley Vediger and Lewis have come together.
Oh, that's what I was about to say earlier. These battle packs absolutely breed chaos, but I didn't even have to say it. It's unlucky for those guys. They were battling hard and stuff like that, and maybe a slight lapse in concentration, just, miss your braking marker by a couple of meters and bam.
Oh, it's so easy to lose your concentration as well. I mean, there's the drive-through being served by Traynor. You've got 12 minutes of qualifying where you're flat out trying to find the time. Then you've got race 1, 30 minutes. Then you've got another qualifying session, and then you find yourself in another race. you know, the mental bandwidth starts to run fairly low in the last 15 minutes of race 2. It's not, you know, I'd say it's slightly different from running a full 60-minute race where, you know, the concentration kind of remains, but once you have those breaks, you know, where you are mentally starts to change a little bit. That's very wide, therefore. I believe that was Thomas in the background. No, that might have been Parkin. That was very, very wide there, on board with Brad Cook now, who's found himself back up into P14 after being at the back of the grid following the contact with Joshua Vedega on lap 1, where he got turned around and taken all the way to the back of the grid because it was unfortunately lap 1. So it's a good fight back from him, all the way back up to P13. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's moving through the grid, Brad is. So, and he'll work away at it. He's one of those guys who is always on point, always pretty consistent. So he'll probably be aiming somewhere to be like in the top 10, 9th or 10th, I reckon's his goal. Which, if you look at the timing board, yeah, that's where the gap's probably a bit too big to McKellar. But, you know, that'd be my drive of this race if he could get it to around there, even now.
Yeah, too right. And that'll be something in the order of 14 or 15 positions gained. So here's Sebi as well in the number 16 car. He's leading AM class as it stands. Got Salvaggio behind him in the number 12 McLaren, who's got a 5-second penalty. That'll drop him down back into P15 or P16 at the end of this race if he doesn't make up the gap. The Pro-Am driver in the 12 car looking pretty quick, and now going to put a bit of pressure on Sebi. So can Sebi hold off the advance of a pretty rapid McLaren behind him? He's in the Porsche, so it's all to play for. That's a very shallow line that he's taken there, but even a very wide line from Salvaggio. That will be a track limit. That'll be another invoice there for him, sadly.
Yeah, pushing the limits, you know. And it's easy to do, as we've said, like all night. It's easy to rack up 1 or 2 in a lap or in the consecutive laps. So just got to tame it in and stay within the limits and try and survive the race.
Yeah, that's right. It's a tricky little circuit, this one, but it feels amazing when you hook something up. But through a race where not every lap's going to be particularly consistent, I mean, I find this track. I love this track, but I find this track very, very stressful to drive on.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm in the same mind about it. Like, the enduro and the sprints we've done here, amazing, because it provides good close racing. Yeah, hard to overtake, but the racing's close. Hot lapping it when you absolutely knock a lap out, awesome. But stressful because the way, as we see Salvaggio give Sebi a helping hand off the track, I don't think it was consensual. So, yeah, we'll leave that one to the stewards.
I think so, yes. But do continue your train of thought there.
Yeah, it's not like... So when you get... Because the way some of the corners are in terms of their braking and their late apexes, cars get incredibly close to you. And you see it in your mirrors and you're like, oh no, like they're going to, like, as what happened there, punt you off track. But most of the time it doesn't happen. Yeah.
You're right. We've just seen pop up on our screen another drive-through penalty for the 27 car. I believe that's Hayden Marsh. So he actually returned to the pits earlier on and sat there. I might have had something to deal with in real life or some issue. And again, he's got a new rig that he's working with now. Nice little bit of Moser gear. So maybe a bit of a hardware issue that he found during the race. But unfortunately for him, he's dead last in the race right now, and probably not got a lot in to get it back, considering he's 2 laps down and has a drive-through. So focusing back on this, and Brad Cook has made even more progress. He's gotten ahead of Salvaggio, of course, who had that contact there, so took advantage of it and goes through on wood. That was as easy as you like. I'll take I'll take a cheeseburger to go and head on through into P10.
He has absolutely stolen that Happy Meal and ran with it.
Yeah, that's correct. That's an easy meal if I've ever seen one before. Wood did not want to have any part of that at all, which, you know, if someone's running past you with a Happy Meal, you do get a bit jealous. You do want to have your own Happy Meal as well. And sadly, there's no Happy Meal there for Wood, who runs wide on turn 2 as well. So the 600 car maybe having a little bit of an issue. I don't think he was involved in any contact, but maybe just looking out for those track warnings. And we've seen, and I think now something like 3 or 4 drive-throughs for track limits in this race alone. I think we saw about 2 in the first race. It's always in the back of your mind, isn't it? I mean, do you use the speed token as a speed token? Do you just be conservative? I mean, it's a tricky one. But Kale, as well, just looking back up the top here, Kale has not let Chris Taylor drop off him. I think these two have changed positions, have they not? I think Chris was actually behind Kale last time we checked in.
Yeah, I believe that Chris has got him somewhere. Or was it when Kale... No, because he got back past. Yeah, so I believe Chris has got him again, which is good. And Chris has absolutely spent a speed token there. There's no way he hasn't. He has absolutely signed, sealed, and delivered that.
That's right. That is one voucher for one free Happy Meal, but you only get a few of those in a race, and he'll run away with that Happy Meal now. I do like this little metaphor we've got going here with McDonald's now. We just need someone out there with a McDonald liveried car. Yeah, so Kale has fallen back. I wonder if maybe Kale's the one now looking after himself in terms of drive-through and trying to avoid the track limits. It's entirely possible. As soon as you get that third drive-through, you are in back-off mode, right?
Yeah, so when you get that third drive-through, it is absolutely caution. All hands on deck to make sure that you do not get the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. But this battle will continue. Some blue flag traffic now getting out of the way. And no worries at all. Connor, I've just seen your message in chat as well, so my bad on that if you didn't get your opportunity to go and do something. But nonetheless, we will continue. We will be coming up to the end of this race in about 7 minutes here. So it's been a good race too, especially good for that man in P1 right now, and that is Jamie Conboy, who is off to a great lead here. About 3 seconds clear of Taylor. He had to do this. He absolutely had to do this. And still needs to look after it, but he's got plenty of time to burn behind. Here's the replay now for Chris Taylor getting the move done on Kale earlier on lap 10. Oh,
big snap.
Yeah. Well, there's another easy meal right there because Kale's got to run a bit wide on the exit, and good control there to keep that car on track because that was a very scary moment there for Kale.
McDonald's is out of 2 Happy Meals tonight. That's what's happening right there. They weren't even paid for. They were just stolen and ran straight out the door.
Yeah, no, in fact, they were being handed out the drive-through, McDonald's drive-through, and someone ran through, Kale ran through, grabbed it, and then just ran off. So he's a lucky man today. But yeah, that was very close. Some more penalties being handed out as well. Salvaggio he's picked up 30 seconds of penalty now. So the number 12 car has been in he's been in the grinder. He's a McDonald's chicken nugget right now. Unfortunately, that's there we go. So that's the unsafe rejoin on lap 12. I don't think we caught that one. No, that's something we didn't catch either. Maybe we'll get a replay of that as well from our brilliant broadcaster in Glenn. Chan as well up in P9, still holding that 10-second penalty, so he'll drop down. But the battle continues. Kale is now only 0.4 of a second behind Taylor as we enter the last 5 minutes of this race. It's been a good one so far. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been entertaining. Both races have been entertaining. Totally different outcomes, really, as you watch Kale close up right in on Taylor in the braking zone. They've been entertaining in completely different ways. And as we was talking about earlier, the stewards have definitely probably opened the cabinet, I reckon, with the work they've been put under tonight.
I think they might have some choice words for those after the race. The race director certainly will, and there might be a bit of a stern warning for those in Split Red, which, by the way, folks, is coming up after this race. So once we're done here in Split Blue, we will be taking a very short break, switching up the commentary box and getting, I believe it's Damien in. Connor will be here as well, of course, to continue the coverage, and Split Red will basically happen immediately. We're going to go straight into it, so there won't be much time for talking about things after the race, but to be fair, the big talking point here is going to be the championship points. I think Kale is going to be the new championship leader for Pro Class after this for Split Blue, because both Joshua Vediger And Jamie Conboy have had one race out of two be a bit of a disaster. And here's the replay. Salvaggio. Oh, yeah, so this is for the rejoin here. Oh, wow.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep. And there's the drunk cameraman who doesn't seem to know where he's pointing. But, yeah, thank you for that replay, Glenn. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that replay. Yeah, we didn't catch the rejoin after it, or maybe we were focusing on the initial contact that he had there with Sebi. But, yeah, that was not a particularly aware rejoin, sadly. Oh, and joining us in the comm box now is Damiano. Welcome in.
Hi guys, Damiano here. Oh, sorry I'm late.
Oh, not at all, mate. Not at all. We're not quite in split red yet, so but that's all good. Good to have you in here. Hope you're having a good evening.
I am. I was so engrossed with the race. I thought I was late.
There you go. Was it just the number of penalties you're seeing on the screen? Expecting Split Blood to maybe be similar, but hopefully not.
I hope not. I was watching Grant Beck get his first win. Congratulations there, and an unfortunate drive-through at the end. In the second race.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So, where is Beg now? Beg has actually made it back to P16, but our leader, Jamie Conboy, still running away with things and continuing to maintain that gap. 2 minutes, 40 seconds remaining in this race. Looking good for Conboy. I think he's going to get it. I think, as long as he doesn't get a drive-through, so hopefully we don't serve any kind of a commentator's curse with their Happy Meals that they've all been taking out today. And, yeah, you guys will have to continue the McDonald's references all the way through Split Red, I suspect. But on board with McKellar now. And this is a battle pack. Nice little battle pack, actually.
Yeah, the battle pack that's forming here is pretty nice. I'm wondering if JC in the lead is just stamping his authority, but driving with a bit of the red mist going. Not at anyone else, but at himself. Because I know I certainly would be.
Oh, I would be too. Yeah, I mean, if you've got yourself a drive-through and cost yourself a race win, that would have been 2 race wins, and that would have put him well clear in the championship as well from both his competitors in Vediga and Kale. So, yeah, I'd be driving with a red mist 100%. But so far, he's been keeping it clean, so he's been keeping his head despite whatever mess he's encountering.
Now, I got a question, Damiano.
Yes.
So we had some overtakes that were super easy earlier in this race, and I need to know: were you the one handing out the Happy Meals to those guys doing the overtakes?
Oh, I'll do anything for an overtake. You know that. Hand them out. I'll hand them out. I want to see overtakes.
My question is, did they have toys in them?
Yeah, they always do. Little plastic toys worth about 3 cents each, and sell them for $5. Yeah, they're the ones.
eBay. Let's go. Yeah. I mean, so there's the new term, everyone in chat. There's your new term for the speed token. It's not a warning. It's a speed token. No, it's a Happy Meal. So enjoy the Happy Meals. Make sure you use a few of them on track. They are being handed out free at the pit lane. There's a 15-second penalty for the 959 car. That is Lewis there, I believe. They might have been coming together with Seb B previous race. And around the outside goes Bell. Tries it, but runs very wide. Tries to get the move done on Apreciado there, but Sith Wait will now find himself on the outside. Does the switcheroo. Looking nice, but can't make it happen on Leela Bell. Leela Bell's not finding apexes, or many apexes here. Oh, squiggly on the exit there for the Mercedes AMG. And now, that is, I believe, McKellar coming into the back of this. Great little battle between these four.
Yeah, it's real nose-to-tail stuff, isn't it?
Oh. Well, that was nearly a moment there for Cecilwaite. So, nearly went straight in the back of Bell, but gets out of it, rightly so. It's actually allowed McKellar just in behind to get a run as well. That is very deep, though, into turn 10. Or turn 11, I think it is. Sorry, excuse my numbers. And McKellar will have the inside line. Who's going to be brave through turn 12? It looks like McKellar was, so well done. Across the line, though, Conboy finishes the race. He'll take the victory in this race, and the battle continues between these two, but McKellar's got it. Chris Taylor will take P2 in split blue, and then Kale will take P3. That's the ideal result for Convoy. We were saying at the beginning of this race, he has to bring home the victory. He has done so in race 2, but the question will be, does he have enough to bring it back in the remainder of the season?
Yeah, it's a good race. It's a good race by everyone tonight in split blue in both races, but it's a good recovery by JC to take the win out after a very arduous race 1.
Exactly right. The remaining people in the top 10. There's Beg going flying through towards the TC0 zone, as I like to call it. P4 was Carter, so that's a great result. We'll take the Pro-Am victory as well. The top of the silver class will go to Apreciado. Overall in P5, Leela Bell will take P6. McKellar in P7. Thistleweight P8. Cook will get a good comeback drive there to P9. And then Chan will take P10 in this race. That is your top 10. Congratulations to all the drivers. Great job out there. Excellent stuff. And we will be moving rapidly on to Split Red, which you two will take over for. So, yeah, big thank you to Octane Online Racing, Glenn, who's been doing the broadcasting tonight and giving us all the replays that we've been asking for. So, doing an amazing job as always. And thank you, Connor, and thank you, Damiano. It's been good for Split Blue. Congratulations to everyone.
Thank you, George. And we'll be returning in a few minutes. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Simrigs Octane Online Racing for your split blood round tonight. And we have with us Connor Hind.
I'm back. I'm staying on for a double stint. Good to be around. Good to see another action-packed 2 races.
Yes, it's a pretty active night tonight. We've got 4 races and 4 qualifying runs tonight. So the drivers are going to be sweating themselves, I think, a little bit. The weather doesn't seem to be too bad. Looks like a sunny day here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the temps and stuff are for these 2 races. Who have we got leaderboard-wise? Who's where?
Yeah, we got the squirrels in the background chasing the hamsters, getting a list together for us. So while we're looking at that, we'll quickly go through the championship standings. We have, let me get to my screen. We have Jean-Pierre Sonicus leading on 251 points. He's in car number 44. Ali Kairuden, a little bit behind, obviously the same 250 points, car 732. Then Mohin Torfik, only few more points behind Kai Rudin, then Hill, Mags, and Maddox. In the silver class, we have Carl Johnson leading, Harsh Kumar leading in Pro-Am as we have the qualifying table up. So we've got Shady Samuel on pole. I don't know what the time was, but he's a very fast driver today. 2 Sonikai brothers, if I can say that. With 555 is John, and number 44 is Jean-Pierre, both in the McLarens, as we see McLaren's knock out the top 5.
Yeah, McLaren has definitely decided to go in this split and lock out the entire almost 3 first rows with Tafiq and Mags there in P6 and P7, the first of the Ferrari entrants, with Maddox and P10 for the Lambos.
Yeah, Maddox had a pretty good season. He's been nearing the top 5s, remember. Mags also doing quite well. Just going through the names. Johnson also having a pretty decent season. He's leading the Silver Championship at the moment. White, and as we go through the rest of the list, so we got Maddox in 10, as we mentioned earlier, Dreyer, Kumar, Johnson, Weatherburn, Bushell down to P15, Keys, White, Merritt, Palmer, Fleming down to P20, Rochford, Doe, and Kilby down to P23. Weather's looking pretty good. Sunny all around. Optimum track, 21 degrees ambient, 28 track, a little bit cooler. No wind. So I'm predicting a dry race this one.
Yeah, it's most likely going to be dry. There's only the odd instance like our quali last night where it did turn wet. We have a new entrant in P14 tonight. Jacob Weatherburn, or aka Yoda, in the 219 Ferrari, making his return. So good to see him back on the grid.
Yeah, tricky circuit to join in and on. I found the circuit to be every corner was a nightmare for me. So be a challenging circuit to return on. But a good qualifying position, 14 after a little break. Well done there. So we have the cars forming up in 2x2s now. I'll be calling the opening start. We'll see how we go. I noticed in the last couple of races there's some gaps forming, so let's fill up these gaps, guys. And tonight's race is a 30-minute race, no mandatory pit stops, and as such, no pit windows. A little bit of gap there is forming, and between P4 and P5. Drivers coming around the last bend. Got to fill up those gaps, guys. Getting down to the straight. Stay on the pit lane markers. That's right, pit lane markers. The grid slot markers, looking pretty good there. Filling up at the back, looking good. Coming down the straight. Green light is our way. And we have a Mercedes on the grass a little bit there, as it looks like Shady Samuel leading out from position P1. Sonica, and that was 44. John Sonicus taking through. Car's going very wide, looking pretty clean so far. Nice stunt. A lot of wobbling in the mid pack. Car's keeping it going. We have Shady Samuel still leading at the front, and I think Jean-Pierre has grabbed the second position with John in second. Top 6 cars are starting to stretch out a gap already. Safety car called already. Looks like we had a turn 2 issue, unfortunately.
Massive gaggle of yellows back there. Something towards the mid back of the field has happened to get everyone all jumbled up like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
very easy to do.
John got a good start there to overtake JP. Shady still in the lead. But yeah, the McLarens, especially the top 4, looking incredibly pacey.
Yeah, so after the first couple of turns, once they got into turn, that horseshoey looking one, it's that turn 1, 4 and 5. They looked at the top 6 cars. It already stretched a little bit of a gap there. So they were on it with the cold tyres. So we haven't seen anyone teleport back to the pits, which is good news. So no one's suffered extreme damage to their cars. So the drivers will be lining up single file for a restart. And what's been consistent is only 1 lap under the safety car, especially for such a short race.
Yeah, you kind of want to stay out of the pits as much as if you got 10 or 15 seconds of damage, just grit your teeth and bear it for these short races, I reckon.
I'll tell you who had a good start. Jay Weatherburn, P10.
Gaining 4 or 5 spots. Can't complain.
3 laps would be P1, judging by that. Also, Jay Fleming also had a good start as well. He was back in 15th, and the cars are away again after the second start. Good quick start by Shady Samuel there. That's John Sonicus and John Pierre stayed in close contact. Graham Hill a little bit further behind. Fastest lap of 8 minutes. That's a very fast leading time there. They have top 3 have stretched out a little gap already. Got 1 second over the 4th position car. As the stragglers are still, not stragglers, but as the trail of cars is stretched out, with the last car's just crossed the start-finish line now.
Yeah, it looks like the front couple especially are just sorting into their rhythm already. Obviously done quite a few laps here this week. But we'll just see where the battle packs kind of form. Because in the last couple of races, it was kind of early formed into 3-4 car battle packs that would back each other into each other, making it like 7-car trains.
Yes, I remember from my race, as John's having a better look of overtake on John Pierre.
As commented on in chat by Gorilla Snapper, an Enduro car, Kovacs Purple, is leading this race outright in P1, 2 and 3 as all teammates. So there'll be a bit of bragging rights going on in there, I reckon.
Oh, here we go. And then they'll definitely know each other's strengths and weaknesses. So coming down to the last turn here, Shady Samuel stretching out a little bit of a gap there. Getting it out to 0.8 of a second with John Pierre and John trailing behind, very close together. As Shady Samuel sends that's a decent opening lap time, 1 minute 30.5, 0.48.
Yeah, Shady's on the move, it seems. He's really pushing hard. Both the Sonokai are kind of getting caught up here trying to battle each other, which is fine, but it's just allowing Shady to extend, really. I don't know if Hill and Lai have the pace to keep up with these 3, but you never know. Anything can happen.
Could be an interesting one with tyres as well. You're pushing very hard to get a gap and then draw your pace back and manage it to the end, where the other drivers could be pacing the car leading up and not overdriving the car in the early stages to have a stronger finish. Could that be a strategy that Hill and Lai are doing?
The only thing is that if you drop off too much around here in such the short time frame the races are, you really can't make it up.
Oh, here's the replay. Coming into turn 2, 3 aside. Oh, it's a long leap there. Bit of a turnaround. Car got sideways, more sideways, and lots of sideways. And I'll continue sideways. Oh, bumper. Oh, that's a lot of contact.
That is a leap of faith. He sent that from Barcelona, I tell you.
I will offer that the caught out under braking, which happened to me last night twice. That's why I was in the wall twice in race 1. The cars braked a little bit sooner than what I was ready for, and I avoided, which is fortunate for me, so I didn't ruin anyone's races, but unfortunately that was a very busy one.
Yeah, hopefully now all the drivers are settled down, because there's only 25 minutes to go in race 1. But yeah, as we're watching Jean-Pierre on the back of John. They're kind of stabilising the gap now to Shady, so maybe they just took a little bit longer to get the tyres up, but they are also pulling a gap to Hill behind. So I reckon it's a 3-horse race at the moment.
I'm going to go out more on a limb. I reckon Shady's going to run away with this. And John and Jean-Pierre are going to be very quick, very close together, but I reckon maybe I'm going to go for 7 seconds for the winning margin. Shady just seems to have a more consistent pace in the early stages. But we'll see.
All incredibly quick drivers as we're riding on with Tafiq, who is looking at the rear of Zuhali's Ferrari. Zuhali in the silver class, leading the silver class. He's only a spot up on Johnson, but he's nearly 3 seconds ahead. But he has Tafiq behind him to deal with. Who Tafiq is no easy customer to deal with. He'll be right there and thereabouts, just plotting his move, just tucking in.
Yes, and in the overall championship, Zuhali is 2 places behind Johnson and 40 points or 35 points. So it's a race to keep an eye on. So if he gets a few points there in front, there'll be championship repercussions there.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we've seen in the other race, any massive big major stuff up that sends you tumbling down the order can change the outcome of a championship at this rate.
Tawfiq's having a very big look at Zuhali as Zuhali takes a defensive move, and the first penalty comes through. 10-second stop and go for Leo Dreyer. Yep, that was the lap 1 incident we saw the replay on. So yeah, a lot of contact there, and another stop go 10 for unsafe rejoin lap 1 for Philip Mercer. Got to hold them brakes, and you got to give respect to the other drivers to rejoin in a safe manner.
Yeah, they've got to get the yardstick out and kind of give them the big slap on the wrist as Shady puts in a 30.3. He is absolutely moving.
That's 1 second better than my personal best on qualifying fuel. He's screaming along. Tawfiq, a bit of a slide through the exit of turn 1, keeps it going really well as chasing Zuhali. Going through turn 2. Zuhali seems a better drive out of turn 2, but through the final part of the middle sector, Tawfiq looks like he's got the handle on the car.
Yeah, watching on board with Tafiq, he's got to keep the oversteer out of the car because it's causing him on exits to kind of just not be right up in the back of Zuhali there. They're still maintaining the gap to Johnson though, so.
Oh, it's very close there. Yeah, I remember one of your comments in the previous race was a little slide in any of these corners is very costly. It's really hard to keep it going.
Yeah, it's as I've said before, it's the bleeder of time. A little slide can separate a lap that was could be a high 30 or a low 30 or a 29 from a 30.3. So it all matters and it all counts, especially on a flowing track like this.
I find also having an overtaking move into turn 1 is hugely risky. It's not much of it's a very narrow lane going through there, even with the extra runoff and the track limits that you got available, or that we have available.
The limits at this, as we was talking about before, the limits at this track are actually kind of odd because you've got places like turn 1 where you can extend beyond the track and even to the edge of the green stuff. But then other corners, you've got the limits where it's like you can't even look at the outside of the course without getting a penalty.
That's it. You put a wheel on the line. The best example, turn 1 and turn 2. You go a little bit wide at turn 2. You go, but I did the same thing at turn 1. Nope.
Yeah.
And even this exit here, I've had a couple of moments just going a bit wide here as Fleming has kept the car well inside the boundaries there.
We are riding on with Jacob Fleming, who yet again has decided that he's going on another tourist season. But he's back in his beloved Porsche. So it's like the circle of life for him. It's all the way back home.
He was talking about it a little bit, wasn't he?
Yeah, he kind of went and experimented with some other cars, and they just didn't kind of get with him like the Porsche does. So, and at the end of the day, drive what you find fun and what really kind of like suits you.
Oh, absolutely. It's really a fact of life. The things that you enjoy, you do better at because you want to be better at it. And also sometimes when you're better at something, you naturally align to that topic, to that car, to that pen, to that style of artwork. Yeah, there we go. A little bit of life advice there. Stick with what you like, and everything will follow through.
Oh, in this
Yellow
game
flag.
too. Ooh,
There's a
that
big
was
off there. Turn 1. Car 272, I think it was. Oh, yeah, going through. So Fleming and White and the Porsche getting very close together. I found last night, after about 15 to 20 minutes, my tyres went off and I found the car very tricky to handle. We'll see how these guys go. And as the returnee, Weatherburn, it's still maintaining position 10, 1.3 seconds behind Johnson, and maintaining a similar gap in front of Bushell.
Yeah, he's actually doing really well on his return race. Just like keeping it steady, he'll probably ease himself back in and not really push for too much. It'll just see how far up the grid he can get.
I will say Fleming's got a lot of confidence in the car, especially at turn 12. That's the right-hander of that crazy sausage curve. I've noticed he's hit the curb a few times, and I think it's intentional. He's really managing the car very well through there. Yellow flag at the back at the train of cars at turn 8, and a teleportation. Someone either had a disconnect or had enough. And here's our AM leader, Gary Lau. Go well, son. Keeping it together. Leading the AM class. Let's have a quick look at the AM class tables. As Gary's got a huge lead in the AM-class tables over J.R. Richardson and Chris Bosnich. The gap is roughly 100 points. Oh, sorry, 60 points.
Where is Mercer, the closest AM to him on track on the trap map? He's a blue flag right now. So that'll be Lau can capitalise on that for the AM-class win tonight.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, it's a lot of slowdown for the blue flags there. It's a tricky one on this circuit because it's really only the main straight and maybe between turns 1 and 2 for easy blue flags. Everywhere else is a bit dicey. Even down that little straight at the back, that kink in it is a bit iffy because you don't know which side to go on. As I watch Maddox, he had a very rough lap 1. I believe. Yeah, he was down in P25. Yeah, I think he got caught up in that lap 1 incidents, potentially. It was roughly around there, where all the contact was happening, about P10, which was really qualified. Coming back through the field again, unfortunately, Maddox doing another recovery drive. He's had quite a few of those this season.
Yeah, sometimes it can happen where you have seasons or periods of seasons where luck is not your friend, no matter how cautious you are with the car or how good your awareness and racecraft is, because you're putting a lot of trust in the people around you to not, do anything out of place or out of ordinary.
Yeah, and I've noticed in lap 1, I've watched all the lap 1s, which I've been very fortunate this week. It doesn't look like people are going hell for leather so much. It's just that it's a very busy corner and it's too easy to give up a lot of positions, so people are just trying to hold it. I don't think there's any malice in it. It's just a bit busy.
Yeah, and it's also the lap ones and the term ones at this track we haven't done as much because being a new track, there's not as much confidence or approach compared to a lot of the other tracks that everyone's lapped and lapped and lapped.
Yeah, it's okay. Message from our pit lane reporter. Maddox actually qualified P26, so had an awful qualifying period. I reckon track limits for those for that 4 times that were pulled there, and he just had to get a good banker in, and that put him down 26. Good recovery goes still. Got a bit of a gap now to Palmer in front, 4 seconds. So we'll see what pace Maddox can pull out. As we see the triangle of car number 1 getting a bit of a gap over John Pierre there. So that's up to 3.5 seconds now. It's just over halfway through race 1 with 13 minutes to go. Weather is unchanged, no rain coming in, all sunny in sunny Spain. So it is true, the rain in Spain mainly falls on the plane. I've been working on that one. You think so? It's the delivery of that one? Not good? All right. So we've got Kuma and Merritt chasing down White into Porsche, who's not that far behind Fleming, who's also not that far behind Bushell. The gap between Bushell and Weatherburn in P10 and P11 still maintained at about 1.3 seconds from a few laps ago, where Weatherburn's fallen back about a second from Johnson in from P9. So I think these guys, not a real battle pack per se, but running very close. And I think everyone's running at full pace without really being held up. Some blue flag traffic down the main straight.
We're right on board with Kumar. Kumar's looking at the back of his teammate, Merritt. So we'll see if there's any bragging rights to be had here between these two. Whether they get a little argy-bargy or a little bit sandy on one another. Let's hope not. But Kumar had a bit of a bad exit there compared to Merritt and just lost a little bit off the back there.
Yeah, I found the circuit to be very slippery. Would you say it would be the case, or it's just that my bad driving?
No, I don't find this circuit too slippery, if I'm honest. So I don't know if it's a setup thing or a driving thing on your part, but yeah, I just found it to be good.
Quite a delight to drive. Well, you did go for the win, right?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to have one win last night, and battling Tom Maloney, who's quite a talented driver himself. And then race 1, the battle for the lead with Tom again was halted, unfortunately. But
sorry, speaking of halted, drive through for track limits that just come through for who in car number 66 and P24 just popped up on the screen there. So that's the first one tonight, from what I can tell. Sorry for the interruption.
It happens. There's lots going on. Everyone seems to have kind of settled in, though. And here is my favourite Porsche on the grid. My absolute favourite. Just look at it. Come on, Mr. Palmer. You need to get up to a certain number 20 Porsche and battle him. So let's make that happen.
It's looking very good in the sunshine here. With the, I think it's got the half gloss, half matte finish there. Very well done. And the cars ahead still, no one's really, like you're saying, no one's really fighting. Everyone's maintained position. I think everyone's settled into their natural rhythm. Although it looks like Kuma and Merritt really starting to go for it, with Kuma only half a second behind. So the leader crosses with the 2 Sonokai following behind. And Pee-wee's 3 and 4's got quite a gap there. And then a pack of 3 cars, and then there's a few more seconds, and then we have P7 and 8. So 2 small battle packs, and then, yeah, exactly what you said. The battle packs are forming, and there's always a few seconds gaps between them. Oh, here we go. Oh, I like the dark. That is really nice. The what would you call that? The mosaic on the roof.
I don't know what you'd call it, but it just looks good with the mascot on it, right? So me being a basketball fan as well, I can appreciate this livery. It's better than a certain number 20's Porsche livery, even though his livery is still good. We're talking about Mr. Fleming. But yeah, like, and it looks tough, like just staring at you. Like, imagine that behind you for a full hour race.
Oh, I couldn't imagine. I'd be watching my mirror the whole time, just waiting to be attacked. That is a really well done livery. Does anybody know if he's done it himself or he had some help in getting it together? Either way, it's a very respectable guy. I'm still very impressed with the pattern on the roof, and as that's gone through for the undercoats. That's for me. That's the win. That's the bit I like on that.
If you look also on the, as we look a bit more up the grid, down the grid, sorry, at Keys, battling away with the Tic Tac car in Pete Chalmers, and Macaulay's sitting there right behind, just watching and waiting. Got a tight little battle going on here as Keys goes to the outside, breaks late, but Chalmers defends his line excellently. Let's see. I reckon the BMW's got a bit more go out of the corner, but the top end speed, we'll wait and see. And that Ferrari's just sitting there in the mirrors, getting a bit of slipstream there. It's a McLaren, sorry. I've got my cars mixed up, and he sends it. He sends it down the inside. I don't know if he sent it too much, but watch your rejoin. Just be careful.
That's good. I think that's good because he was third position and not really a mistake. Sort of edged off from turn one, and also telegraphed not jumping straight back in. That's my opinion. I thought that was okay because you knew what was happening. Also, a good green livery on the Aston Martin there too with Keys. Some really creative and artistic people in all these splits. So the overtake was done by Macaulay. Macaulay is looking pretty pacey tonight. See if we can get past the gatekeeper of Chalmers. I'm still working on a nickname for Chalmers. Such an excellent defender.
Defender of the realm. Defender of the high heavens. I don't know. It's got to be something completely and utterly fantastical.
As Keys takes the alternative Rough Rider line through turn 12. And Macaulay have not a great exit on turn 12 to the main straight. So Pete Chalmers is going to have an easy run down to the start finish into turn 1.
As you see further up the track map too, so Shady's extending his gap. JP has got past John for P2 and has kind of extended the gap to John.
Okay, a little off. There were some blue flags happening around that time. I know some blue flags. I'm not sure if they've been impacted by it. Might have been a little bit further back in the grid when that move happened.
Also, we will just read a bit of the chat, and we will not listen to Ben Hignett in the chat talk about the Jag, unfortunately.
There's a Jaguar? Surely not. It's the main car. Oh, it's the Enduro rounds. Yes, it's open. It's open for the Enduro rounds, isn't it? It's the any GT3 car. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Big close up on Chalmers in the hairpin. Come out to turn 12, having a good look. Corley looking much more confident through turn 12 as Pete's able to run on the curves. It's gone wide and looking like Macaulay's got on the inside. Is he going to maintain it? Chalmers trying to go around the outside, has kept it, but has not maintained the position and has dropped the position to Macaulay. Macaulay is flying tonight. Just one tiny mistake, and that's all it took. And as we have our Keys having a good run on Chalmers into turn 1. Chalmers having a little look on Macaulay. It's gone wide through turn 1. Maybe a track limit there. Keys coming down the inside. Going to have an outbreak in the dive. Don't outbreak yourself. Kips. Oh, well done. Good line through there. Kept it on the curbs. And Chalmers drops 2 positions in 3 corners. Easy to get out of your rhythm. Now we have Zickery following Chalmers now. Battling for P22. Zickery's looking very fast in the Bentley. Bentley's going strong against Pete currently. Pete potentially overheated his tyres. What do you think there? As he's going for another defensive move. Defended early, going into one of the many hairpins we have here. Maintains the line. And Zickery's backed out a little bit as Pete's gone through and collected his composure again and gone through. Well, that was very rapid. Oh, as Zickery goes a little slide through turn 9 and exits out and heading down to turn 12. It was very exciting. So Pete's dropped a little bit further back from Keys, going into turn 11 and 12. Corley's not maintained a strong gap to Keys behind. Giving those guys a couple of laps to settle down and see how their natural pace sorts themselves out.
Been a pretty tight battle here too, as we're watching Maddox and Palmer go side by side. Maddox has got a good exit there, yep, and Palmer's just going to tuck back in. Really good racing between the two of them.
Yeah, it was very close, very fast-paced racing there. With 2 minutes 30 to go, and leader is halfway through this lap. So I'm thinking 3 laps to go. Oh, someone's gone off stage left. That was a pink 269 car.
Merritt's off.
Oh, that was unfortunate. 369. Oh, wow, that was a P14 position there. That's a lot of damage. Yeah, not worth pitting on this one with less than 2 minutes to go. Bring it back to the race. Still can finish and get some good points here.
Yeah, he just grit the teeth and try and make it to the end of the race. You got a minute 43. It is gonna suck. But like, what can you really do at this point in the race with that?
Yeah, it's and as with some of the other drivers in other races earlier tonight, as we have Keys trying to go on the outside. Room given by Merritt. See how the Ferrari goes with the aerodynamic deficiency down the main straight. As we see Keys pull out, looks like a bit ahead, a full car gap there. Yeah, Merritt's bringing the car home by looks of it. As we have Chalmers coming through in the back, going to have a look on turn 2. No discretion, not enough close there. Going through turn 3 and probably through turn 6, which is the next lap. Oh, here we go. Here's the replay. So he's going through the exit. Yep. Little bit too much power. Lost some traction on the rears. And
a little bit too much go pedal.
Not enough TC. Keeping the position, though, over Chalmers. We have the leaders cross the start-finish line, so we're on definitely the last lead lap.
Yeah, they're on the last lap. Shady's kind of held this as Merritt again takes another trip to the beach. JP has kind of came into P2, and kind of held it there. I'd like to see if he got past John earlier, how his pace would stack up against Shady in a 1-to-1 race.
Yeah, I think Merritt went off in the middle part of the lap. Then I think he's teleported back to the pits and had enough. Don't blame him there. Yeah, interesting one. Maybe a little slide. Nearly a 4-second gap from JP to John. Not sure how that sorted itself out. But Shady Samuel, light start, leading every lap. Survived the turn 1, turn 2 mayhem. Come up to some blue flags. So definitely won't catch him in time for the start-finish line. So an easy run into the home. Gives a nice easy line in through turns 11, turn 12, very nicely cut through. No track cuts there. Don't see any drive-throughs. Plenty of fuel in the car and takes the checker flag. Easy win for Shady Samuel. I say easy because the last. Oh, is that a fuel
JP
issue?
run out of fuel? And he's gonna get a helping hand from his brother, and he still will finish P2. Whether that was just a helping hand or whether it was a good chance by John to get some payback, we won't know. Or was it the same person in the same room? You never know.
You can tell. Nobody tells. As the drivers coming through, that we're looking at Torfik, who finished P8, Johnson Weatherburn finishes P10, Bushel, Fleming in 12, Maddox, White, Kumar, and we're going down to Bolchic's, coming down to finish, crossing the line there. No crazy. Quite a few cars. I'm looking at any track limits coming through. No track limits. Chalmers crossing the line now and secures P21. Secree did not get past. Rochford crossing the line. Oh, here we go. Here's the pass on the replay. That was a blue.
Oh, yeah, just a bit too eager on exit, which is unlucky.
He knew that Ghost was up, Jig was up, whatever the saying is, and let the other car pass, which is his brother, through without fighting too hard. So excellent win for Shady Samuel, John, and JP. Sorry, I should say JP and John. Okay, race is officially finished. Just waiting for Merritt. I think the teleportation by Merritt into the pits has upset the. But he's Richards is still running on track, but he's got the checkered flag running. So I think the game's messed up with Merritt in the pits here because he's still showing as green, where there are other drivers I can see. Yeah. Yes. If anyone's there, ask Richardson to pits so the game can get a bit of a hurry up and move along. It's not Richardson's fault. It's just a fault of the game.
Lau is just off in the dust out at turn 1, which is interesting. ACC and Kunos teams.
Yes. So it's so we have White finishing in Pro-Am, and was that Johnson leading the silver class? I think so. We should be cutting straight over to qualifying, and away we go for qualifying. Looks like it's a dry qualifying. I'm disappointed we only had the only wet sessions so far. Okay, so we have the drivers streaming out. So we will have a quick look at the table. So for that last race, Kuma had a pretty good run. Charm was a little bit down the list. So in the Pro-Am category, we have Kuma a few points in front of Chalmers and Rochford. I think Kuma's extended his lead in that championship there, as we have cars continuing to stream out into the pits. From the pit lane onto the circuit. And from the silver class, we had Johnson, Dry, and Zahuli leading their silver classes there. I think Johnson had a pretty good race, as well as Keys. So is anyone going to be able to crack into the 1 minute 29s in this qualifying session?
I reckon Shady can do it. I know JP can on the practice serves and stuff. I reckon JP, Shady, and John can. So if even one of them can get it, it'll be a mega lap.
Oh, very much so. It's like 100-meter sprinters. This is like if you're in the zone on the day, it's your day. Let's see how we go. JP backs up a little bit to get a bit of space to start the first opening run. I usually find from most drivers, the first run or first time lap is not their fastest. It's usually second rolling lap is the fastest.
Yeah, second or third, because it takes quite a lot of strain to be really zoned in, focused around here.
And interestingly, we still have Chalmers and Palmer in the pit lane who have not exited yet. Still plenty of time to set a lap. It's a short lap, 1 minute 30, because we're talking 1 minute 29s. So plenty of scope left to set some laps. So John's there, taking a good turn. A little bit wide on the exit. That's the tyres are still coming up to temperature. Circuit still looking very good. It was 21, 29 degrees, full sun with no wind. Having no wind, I think, is a bit of an advantage. So there's no variation going through so many of the corners. Takes a little bit of curb through turns 12 there and 11. Oh, sorry, 12 and 13 now. Good exit on the entrance there. Very well done on the line, and we're going to have our first lap time of 1 minute 30.1. Ooh, that's very close. I think we're on for a 29.
That is a mega close out lap, isn't it?
That is spectacular. Already 1/10 up and creeping up. If this pace is maintained, he will do it. As we got Shady Samuel 0.2 behind, Zauli 0.5, and John Sonicus a full 7 tenths behind, 8 tenths behind. More times to come. And this is John Sonicus, 0.8 behind, needs to find a decent amount of time to get close to the pole times that he was setting in qualifying 1. Oh, it's just invalid. I'll look away at the timing table. Pit reporter says invalid. Got their underball. It was Shady Samuel here. 0.2. That puts him very close to the original qualifying time. Oh, we have a very awkward car giving room to the fast driver, recognizing that Shady has the pace on it.
He had an invalid lap, I believe. Keys did.
Oh, okay, that's a wise then. 1 minute 30.
That is close. Oh, this is gonna. If he can hold it, that's a 29. This is gonna be a mega lap. Yes.
Wow.
There it is. That's a mega lap by Shady Samuel. Absolutely on the limit. He's probably timed to even find around where the blue flag let him through, because he probably dropped a 10th there.
Yeah, it looked a bit uncertain. Already 0.2 up again, or here as well. Dropped it on the exit. And gaining it again. There's more scope for improvement. So Graham Hill is P3, 0.3 behind, which is almost the pole time from the last round of qualifying. Who's got tipped in by Kay Lay in car number 527, also 0.3. Graham Hill's 0.5 behind. Shady's 0.15 up, gaining and losing. He's up 0.3. This is a screamer of a lap.
Be interesting through this corner if he gains any. Yeah, look at that. That's, a bit over a 10th. Has he kept it? Oh, a bit sloppy on exit. Let's see how he goes through the kink here. See how much he takes and if he holds it. Oh, good line through there. That's a good line. He's held the good exit as he fires down into the final turn. Let's see what the exit's like through here, because he got a massive one. Oh, he's lost it a little bit. Still nearly 2 tenths up. This will be a 0.7. Oh, that's another mega lap. Stop it. Shady Samuel goes bang.
And the thing is as well, car number 44, 0.16 back, and that's a 29 as well. So for this round, we have it's the first time we've gone to 29s for this round in all the splits. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the first 29s.
So 2 of them in the one session. That's fantastic. So you have Kayleigh here, 0.4 off the current qualifying time, which I think for the first round of qualifying would have secured pole. Teetering on going up and down, still on a valid lap, going through turns 4 and 5. Driving extremely well. You would have to be teetering on another edge of 29. It's got to find 3/10 to break into a 29. Currently not doing it. Got a bit of a gap in front, so I don't think Lay is going to get caught up anyway. Take it really nicely, smoothly through. Is the exit going to be any improvement? No. It's looking like car number 527 is at the limit of the tyres and how the setup ability will give him. Tiny bit up. Exit through turn 12. A little bit of a gain, a little bit of loss. Going down the straight, slowly dropping time. Will be an improvement, but not enough to get into second place or pole. No, that was not an improvement. Just the slight delta in the game recording its timing. As we have Dreyer now in P8, 1 second behind. Wow, those guys at the front are screamingly fast.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a gap between the top couple in here and the rest of the pack, which just really shows their ability to over and extend.
It's going to lead for a very interesting race too, I think. Especially with JP being so fast.
JP and Shady.
Yes. Sorry. I should have mentioned that our previous race winner.
Well, they're the 2 in the 29s right now. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see them duke it out as we stay on board with Dreyer. Trey is 10th and a half up. Has kept the exit. Going down into the final corner. What's the line like? Yeah, good line through there. Lost a tiny little bit he's going to lose on the exit. But it should still put him up a spot. Yeah, as he jumps mags into P7.
What's that, 1/10 of a second for 5 drivers?
Yeah, from P8 to P4 separated by a 10th.
Hill made a bit of a step up to P4, just behind Kayleigh. 2 minutes to go on the timer. Keeps it on the green. Room for 2 more laps. Probably not enough time to go back and change tyres there to get them warmed up. I think that's a limits there. Yep, that's a limits. So still enough time there for Hill to get an extra lap. A couple of drivers exiting pit lane. And this will be the last lap for JP to try and secure pole. Needs to find 0.17 of a second. Currently on the same time originally set.
Yeah, I reckon he can do it. He's just floating around that mark. He's just got to get those exits under control. Although this person in front of him is invalid, so he's got a little bit of a gap. It's not major, but should be enough.
Hopefully he doesn't get caught up with the car in front. tiny bit up. This is the corner where we can make him break. It looks like it's a broken through turn 12. I don't think he's got enough time. Oh, that looked very dicey going through the last corner there.
Yeah. Kind of a bit wide on the mid corner in the exit.
And
As Shady just goes and improves again.
That's pretty convincing.
I'm sorry, Shady, if we ever doubted you that you could possibly win race 2.
Still got some drivers out there hoping for a Hail Mary. We have John Sonicus half a second behind. Is he on? Can he catch it up at all? Also on the limit of what the tyres in a 7 can do, being at 0-0s. Ooh, car 623, ignoring blue flags for a 2-place grid penalty for Macaulay. That's a bit awkward.
I'm wondering if that was that final turn there with JP.
Possibly. Possibly. I don't recognise the car colour as we have John going through the last corner. Does make a little bit of time. We're looking for 2/10 to make a position. It's 0.14, very close.
Oh, almost pips his brother, but that's another good lap by John. Well, they know they're going to take the fight to each other, and let's see if they can take the fight to Shady.
Yes. It'd be interesting. Very interesting turn 1 through there. Makes and Hill qualified well. Hugh, I hope I pronounced your name right, car number 66, Pro-Am, P5. So job well done there. And McLaren seemed to be quite favourable for the first 6 positions. So definitely a McLaren circuit here. As we're beginning our grid walk, looking at the spectacular liveries again. Let us find a Porsche with the bird on it again. I want to have a look at the roof if we can. But there's some what was a gap in the grid there? I'm not familiar with that. Why is there a gap in the grid there? And the monster livery of the Aston Martin looking very spectacular again. Very colourful Porsche, very Benetton-esque from the 80s. And there's your bird car. Looking very nice. I'm still liking the roof. Purple Ferrari, purple, red, pink. Oh, they're the back. Pink and red Ferrari. Tic-tac car, always looking good. There's the Bentley, the Killer Kit Kat car. That's such a good library. I keep reading Kit Kat every time I see Killer on there. And that's our AM leader, Gary Lau, at the back of the grid. Made it. Probably a couple of laps there, but still made the grid as the drivers have 1 minute to go to set everything up. Again, race 2, 30 minutes. No mandatory pit stops. So it's just race to the flag. So, Shady Samuel, JP, and John Sonicus. Connor, who do you think was going to take it out to Sonikai? I think Shady's got it not in the bag. If he has a good start and gets out there and doesn't get caught up anywhere, he's got the pace for the win, judging by that qualifying pace.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to go past Shady if everything goes according to plan, doesn't involve an instance, and has a clean turn 1 and 2. Obviously, JP and John will be there to provide him with some issues. I don't know if Lai and Sue can keep up with the top 3, but you never know. You never know.
I'm predicting it's going to be a very good battle pack for our current positions in 4th through to 7, and Maddox is up there as well. I think that it's going to be very, very tightly fought for 4th place. As the drivers lead away. sunny conditions again in sunny Valencia.
Yeah, the track is very dry, which was to be expected mostly.
It's one thing I haven't seen looking on the side of the circuits is I haven't seen the orange trees. Valencia oranges. Anyone? Or maybe everyone. Maybe the tree growers are just looking at their navels. I'm trying badly.
And anyway, Damiano's left us for comms. No, I'm kidding.
You know what I have done? I've just distracted myself and gone to the Simrigs website and start looking at some new race gear to improve my jokes. So most of the races have awkward turn 1 and turn 2 issues. I think was it the second race in the previous split that they were pretty clean?
Yeah, the second race in that was pretty clean. So hopefully, again, we have another good race too, as I'll let you take it away again.
Okay, no worries. Cars are forming up, double file, double file. I do like that livery on those Ferraris. It's very tropical fish-esque as the parrot pigeons. Oh, the driver's on the main straight already, keeping it together. Gaps are looking pretty good. Oh, a bit dicey at the back as the cars are catching up. Going to be a very interesting start at the back as the drivers are catching up. Looking for a green flag. Should be very quick. And we are away again. Shady Samuel looks like he's got a good drive. No Mercedes on the grass this time round. JP is going out wide. Have a look around the outside of Shady. Oh, they're on. It's on. Track limits. Couple cars off in the background. JP, everyone's kept it straight. JP's kept the lead going. Not sure what's going to happen there. Might need to get the position back. John is secured in third place. No major yellow flags I can see. Just a couple at the back. And that looks like a relatively tidy opening to the race. So an interesting start for Shady. He's got the pace to get through on JP. The car's 5 positions back, start going back. We had Kai, I think, go a little bit deep there in the orange McLaren. And that looks like a pretty good start. Everything looks like everyone's really not a lot of side-on-side action. No one really heavily defending. I think Split Red is going to have a very clean opening lap 1.
Yeah, it was a good move by JP around the outside there, confident and bold.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he just kind of had to trust that Shady would hold his line and that give him enough room to kind of not really anything bad to happen.
Do you think I think he went off circuit, leaving on turn 1 there. Do you think you need to redress the position? Or is that just turn 1 things?
Nah, I don't reckon, because that turn you can take you off onto another track. That's what the limits are. I don't think he stretched the limits that much. Like, he might have been like what they are now.
Yeah,
going through there.
Yeah, it was less than what Shady Samuel did just then. So I would say race on. Good move by both drivers. We have a car off in turn 1. And another car off in turn 2. I think that's Chalmers. That's how had a moment there. No one's teleported back to the pits, so it looks like they're going. Chalmers has rejoined at the back of the field, unfortunately. Shady is right on top of the Sonicus there.
Yeah, he's really starting to apply the blowtorch now. And if he keeps it in, let's see how much kind of pressure JP can withstand. He is the championship leader at the moment, JP. And obviously he's an ultimate driver in terms of defending. So we'll see if he can withstand it.
And this circuit not known for its overtaking opportunities, as Shady goes a little bit wide through turn 12 there, giving up a bit of time. John Sonicus was a second further behind, so gaps are starting to stretch out already. Lai is relatively close behind John with only 0.7, as well as Max. So Lily and Dreyer and Johnson have had good starts. Looks like Maddox has had a bit of a rough one again. as our leader pulls in 1 minute 30.5 for the more flowing of the opening laps. Just looking at the chart, where's Maddox? No, sorry. Maddox has had the bad start. I know Pete Chalmers is, I called it wrong. He's actually running in P20. It was car 219 that had contact in mid-pack and went to the back of the grid.
That is Jacob Weatherburn.
Oh, that was Weatherburn. Oh, sorry to hear that, matey. So we have Johnson is doing all right. Keeping the lead. He's the leader in the Silver Championship. So Johnson's leading Dreyer over the championship, and they're pretty close together, with Dreyer 3 positions in front, and Zahuli was P3 in the Silver Championship, so overall championships for Silver are reversed in this race. As we have Johnson have a bit of a slide there through turns 9, and we've got a move happening now. That is Kuma getting past Bozic, or defending well against Bozic. I didn't see how it all started. Bozic looks like it's got a good run down leading into turn 1. We'll see what we got going there. Kuma on the outside of turn 1, holds the line, keeps it close together. That is really well done by both drivers. Kept it, both cars on circuit. Going into turn 2, we have Bozic getting inside of Kuma. Look like a possibly tiny little tap there. Bozic's gone wide on turn 3, possibly a track limit there, and has fallen back behind Kuma. But well defended by Kuma there.
Yeah, good racing by both. It's good that they got their elbows out a little bit and kind of let each other know that they were there, but it was clean, it was respectable.
Oh, I think so too, and it gives a chance to fight again with the same amount of vigor. As our top 3 are still the same timing apart. We're Shady Samuel about half a second, 0.6 behind JP, and John Sonicus again another further second behind. As Kaya Mags and Zouli has been left behind a little bit. We have Dreyer quite close behind Zouli. That might be a one to watch. So we have the McLaren behind the Ferrari. Ferrari exit from turn 12, really strong. As Shady pulls a 1 minute 30.22. That's that was pole time for race 1, wasn't it? Or very, very close to it. Comments from the pit lane. Is a 29 on the cards? Possibly. Kuma went deep on turn 1, defending from Bozic. And Dreyer still right on top of Zahuli.
Yeah, Dreyer's really applying the blowtorch here to Zahuli. I reckon he wants that silver kind of win in class. I don't blame him. So this will be a heated battle for the rest of the race.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to it. Winning your in-class positioning for podium is always something to aim for. I enjoy it very much. Whereas Kuma would be enjoying being in the middle of the silver pack, demonstrating the skill set that he has driving that Ferrari and keeping four positions in front of his nearest challenger in this race of Palmer in the Falconized Porsche. Another driver that's had a bit of a rough start from between race 1 and race 2 is Jay Fleming. Can't see him on the leaderboard there.
I think Fleming has had a, from what I'm led to understand, he's had either a DC or a bit of a kind of an internet power issue.
Oh no! And Maddox got a bit of a pen happening on lap 2, 15 seconds. It's going to shuffle things up for the top 10. And Carl Johnson, another pen. Oh, that'll hurt. The leader of the Silver Class Championship. That's going to make him fall down the line because the cars behind are very closely and a few more coming through. Ash White getting another 15-second penalty. Oh, for his first, but another one for these drivers. He's in P17.
I'm wondering if that's the incident where Weatherburn dropped, whether that whole incident going into T2 was a bit of their doing. They gave a bit of a helping hand.
I think so. This is going to make it really interesting for the top 10. So we got Mannix in 8, dropping back a bit. But that'll move Torfik up. Johnson moves up, but also has a penalty, so he drops back. So then we have Kuma and Bosic racing for a P10. Now that is something to race for. So that would mean so Johnson's falling way back. That's a long way back. He could potentially come out if the timing stays the same as they are, which they won't. But currently, we're looking about P18 for Johnson. Look at the go.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is what it is. He could try and extend the gap, but he's going to lose a bunch of positions just because of how short the race is. As Jacob Weatherburn gets a slap and says, "You were at fault too, buddy."
What were these guys doing? Were they in a parking lot just reversing
Maybe
each other?
we could get a replay from Glenn as to what happened on that incident. I'm very curious to see what's giving the stewards all the work.
My understanding is from the pits, the replay machine is activated and being investigated for the correct timing. So I'll be interested. Oh, so this is the Johnson incident coming up. Johnson on the inside. Oh, just a little tap there. And we have a new replay coming up shortly as we find the next contact. So no real change there. Shady Samuel still 0.4 behind our leader GP, with John Sonicus 2 seconds behind, dropping a second back. It's going to be very close as we've got 10 minutes into the race already. Temperature's a little bit warmer on this race, 21 degrees ambient, 27 track. Wind is headwind down the straight at 3 kilometers an hour. That will benefit the cars with the extra aero. So the rest of the top 10 is starting to stretch out. We have Dreyer and Zahuli still going for it. The pressure's being applied. Blowtorch is burning. Back of the car is getting scorched. But Dreyer, heaps of pressure. Zahuli absorbing it all. Those two drivers don't seem to be overdriving it. They're probably waiting for a slight mistake, which would be unlikely to happen because both of these cars are driving quite well, not pushing the limits on the track edges. Going very well.
Yeah, you'll look at that 12 to 10 minute mark where kind of you'll see these drivers kind of ratchet up a gear even more to see if they can kind of test the limits of the other.
And yeah, see who's pushing a bit harder, sliding a bit more. Yeah, that'll start kicking off, I think, because now that's where the super grip of the tyres is starting to wear off. Oh, that usually only lasts 4 laps anyhow. Is that right?
What'd you say? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
The tyres, the tyres have like a very thin coating of qualifying rubber on them on the outside. That's why the first 3 or 4 laps are really hot, as in fast times.
It's only a few laps, like a handful of laps, and then it kind of starts to slowly drop off, depending obviously on a multitude of factors, really, like the track itself, how you drive, how much curbing you take, how much sliding you do, how much kind of rubbing you get with other cars.
Yeah, very much so. Saw a few drivers there, leading from Dreyer, Maddox, Torfik, and Johnson from this camera angle. Were going very wide at turn 1, so everyone's pushing very, very hard. The overall snake of the cars is quite close currently. Only one driver on pit straight who got turned around earlier on, which I think was Weatherburn. So Shady Samuel, still keeping in touch with JP Sonicus at the front, hanging around 0.4 to 0.6 behind, waiting for a moment. John Sonicus slowly falling back, it's now 2.5 behind. Iron Mags, 3 seconds and 1.5 seconds behind. Zululi, new replay. This is the Weatherburn. Oh, that's the cars that went off. Coming back on circuit. Looked okay. And we got turned around here. Then what happens next? Got some cars appearing. So just looking for where Weatherburn got the penalty. That was not the penalty incident, we believe. That's where he got turned around and ended up at the back. So plenty of action to go through. Replays inbound. So these drivers actually doing really good in split red at the moment. A little bit of carnage. Nothing too significant to warrant the title of Split Blood. Top 10 are driving very well. The guys with the penalties, Maddox and Johnson, still maintaining their pace, trying to stretch out and get a further up the order by the time the flag happens. As we have Samuel still riding half a second behind JP. Fastest lap Samuel at the moment was 1:30. Was that a 0.3? We'll watch when he crosses the line again, see what his fastest lap time was. Both these cars are McLaren, so no significant advantage apart from driver skill and setup. Crossing the line, we'll see what sort of lap times they are doing. So best time of a 30.2 and currently doing a 1 minute 30.6 seconds as we cross the half distance of the race. Drivers are driving very hard and still keeping within the limits, I see. Not going too out wide on. Next replay inbound. This is a potential area for Weatherburn's contact. Leading up, coming up to the corner here. What happens here? Oh, looking. Oh, a little tap from behind. And possibly that could be the pen. I think we call that a bump pass is what the term is. a little tap from behind and took the position. Couldn't say if the stewards would be more lenient if the position was not gained or given back. We let the stewards decide. I couldn't decide on that one. I'd leave that to the stewards.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a tough one.
Yeah, looking at Shady here, looking like he's really amping it up now, taking some extreme wide lines, cutting in really deep, and staying very close behind JP. Could have potential for a tow in a turn one. Same cars could be tricky. Doesn't look like it. No, their lap time's a little bit slower than the last lap. That was a 30.8. So, heavy under braking. The car was twitching there for Shady Samuel. John Sonicus getting a bit wide, still within limits. Definitely racing to win and giving all he has, JP.
Yeah, he'd be defending for his life right now. He's only got 12 more minutes to do it too, so he can get there.
What's that? That's about 9 more laps. That sounds so far away. Good thing I've seen from John. There was a moment there. I was just saying, has he given up the position to Shady here? Battling out through the chicane. I think he's lost the position. Can Shady maintain the corner? He has, and a slight mistake for JP has let Shady Samuel through. It was a weird one, that one. Going into turn 8, I think it was. The little kink before the hairpin. Car just got a little bit had a little twitch there, and which allowed Shady to close right up and get the run on. So we'll get to see if how far Shady Sam can stretch out the lead and do some qualifying laps. That was the 31.4 as expected with our overtaking maneuver. John very wide there. Potentially not a track limit if they go off the accelerator and don't actually gain any time, but hard to manage. Oh, that was very close to the limit there. JP certainly going for the win, chasing down Shady Samuel. The gap for John is now 3.5 seconds, so definitely the battle is these two for the win. Doesn't look like any further changes all the way down to, I think, even P14 and 15. It has not changed at all for the last few laps. So looking good for Torfik to get his P8 and for Kuma and Bosic to finish P10 if the guys maintain their pace and maintain it all on the circuit. Okay, this is Peach the wobbles coming into the corner. What happened? Oh, that's weird. Yeah, I didn't. There was a very strange little wobble there from Peach. Maybe I can't say. Let's have another look.
Was there a screen freeze or a freeze on his end or something?
Possibly. The line looks good. I'd say there's netcode. Because Shady only got there because of the twitch. Shady wasn't that close behind to make Peach feel like something was going to happen. I'd say a bit of internet connectivity there. Just at the wrong time. Like, you know, when a car joins, when you're going into a braking zone, you put you off. From that view, it looked like he turned away from a potential dive, but I don't think Shady was diving there. Not that I remember. Shady goes a little bit wide there. Gonna have a.
I think something.
So that replay there shows Shady not diving, and it was only the twitch from JP
I think something's happened on JP's end though, like whether it's a freeze or a glitch or a.
Yeah, netcode. Happens. Online gaming internationally, we have people driving from Singapore. I think we had some Japanese drivers at one time, so there's going to be a tiny bit of lag here and there. And considering all that, this is actually, I'm very impressed with how this gaming system, this simulation works. As we have driver behind Sauli, and Manix has joined the party. As we're coming down to 8 minutes to go. They're pushing pretty hard at 1 minute 31 and a half. Only half a second off their fastest times as we have Dreyer pushing very, very hard. Gonna have a look in turn 2. So early defending quite well and covering off P2, which has actually really brought Maddox into this. This is going to be really challenging for Dreyer. You got to
Yeah, they're battling, and their argy-bargy has brought Maddox right up onto this battle. So he's obviously got the pace, but he's also got the penalty. So do you try and push past as hard as possible to then stretch the gap, or do you like consolidate because you're gonna drop a few spots anyway? So.
Well, to be the pro class racer, obviously you're going to go for the fastest race finishing time, right? Because that's why you're there.
That's the pro strat.
Exactly. You don't become pro by giving away time. But the battling with Maddox on dryers allowed Zuli to get a tiny bit of breathing space. This has also brought Torfik, as we see in the rear vision mirror, very close behind. And the Ferrari, going to get a slipstream and have a look at turn 1? Possibly. Well, he's having a look. It's a bit of a fake. Is it a fake? I think it's a fake. Just letting him know he's there, seeing the braking and turn-in point. Oh, those guys are very close to that track limit. It's actually, you got to have both tyres on the green line. Oh, on the green paint. Yeah, on the green spot to stay in circuit. If it's just one tyre, no, that's a track limit. It's got to be both.
Words are hard, aren't they, Damiano? Words are hard.
It was interesting. Sprechen Sie English? Yeah.
But nah, you'll see Tafik now. He'll just reveal himself from the back of Maddox like he did just there, and like he's done it at a couple other corners, just to let him know he's there, fill his mirrors, see if he can spook him into doing something.
Because it's actually quite interesting that when you say Taufik going there, because Taufik and Maddox both pro racers, and Dre and Zauli in front of him are the silver class. So see the skill set difference. But it'll also be how well you hooked up on each circuit as well. Maddox getting a lot of curb there. Car bouncing around, going a bit wide. Uh-oh, is that a track limit for Weatherburn? I didn't see notification come on the screen, so that looks like a yes. And there's a yellow flag incident at the hairpin. So I'm trying to make a move. Look at car number 6. I think that's the killer car. So with that drive-through, with the amount of time we have left on the clock at 5 minutes, that will need to be served. Won't be able to drive through that one to the end of the race. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the drive-through rules, the lap you get the drive-through on, that's lap 1. Then on the next lap, that's a free lap, and on the subsequent third lap, you must do the drive-through, otherwise you'll get disqualified. And the stewards and the race cannot bring you back. So Dreyer and Suuli again. Nose to tail, and Maddox and Taufik have caught up again. So the pro drivers are very much faster. It's probably up to Zuli and Dreyer to probably do a Sainz and Lando strat and help each other along by not fighting each other. I think as soon as they start fighting each other, they'll lose these 2 positions. But as we see, Maddox does have a pen.
As I was saying earlier, though, in the previous races, it's really hard to overtake here. Like, you got to really earn your overtakes due to the nature of the course. So even though Maddox and Tafik are pro, they'd still be working pretty hard for this.
Oh, I think so. I think the only overtaking spot in the whole circuit is turn 2. And everywhere else is, oh, here we go. Going to turn 2, we have Dreyer defending, and Maddox gotten overtaken by Taufik as he kept it. Oh, very wide line for a defend on the next corner. I was too busy watching the cars there. I didn't see the notification pop up there.
Merritt got a penalty. I can't remember what lap. But yeah, unfortunately, Merritt got stung.
Oh, that would probably be for the incident we saw at the hairpin at turn 9, I think it was. At where these guys are approaching now, this hairpin coming up. There was some yellow flags there 2 laps ago. Oh, there's a drive-through for Keys. That's potentially track limits there. That'll blow his chances away for a potential getting close to the top 10. It's a P11 going away there. So we have Taufik getting past Maddox. Can Taufik make an impression on 2 in front? Now, with no pen on Taufik, this is actually racing for overall classification. So, looking at the leader, Shady Samuel, he has absolutely stretched it right out to 2.5 seconds. Good defending by JP. Wasn't just that one glitch. It was all it took for Shady Samuel to get through. John Sonicus a little bit further behind at 4 seconds. And Lay only 1.5 seconds behind John Sonicus. Keep an eye on that. It's still got 2 minutes to go. That's about 2 laps left. Any mistake by John, and Lay will have an opportunity to grab that extra position. As we see Weatherburn take the drive-through. So Keys might be able to drive to the end without a drive, get to the end and not having to serve the drive-through, but he'll take a 30-second penalty at the end of the race. Is it 30 seconds or a stop go 30? I think it's 30.
Yeah, I think it's 30.
Yeah, and then from there, where they're dropping down. Wow, they're dropping well past 23rd. It's a tightly packed race. So leader crossing the line now, and with 1 minute 10 to go, this will be the last lap. If Shady Samuel clocking in at 1 minute 31.3, 1 second off his peak time, with the lead of JP closing in by 0.2 on that lap.
Just shows how good of a job JP did at defending for how long he did. Like, yeah, Shady showed in quali that he had the pace, but to defend from someone like that for so long, just a mega effort.
Oh, absolutely. It was very impressive, especially knowing now the time kept behind. As we saw Torf defend a little bit in turn 1 from Maddox and then running wide. So I'm not sure how many McDonald's Happy Meals these guys have left to consume. End of the race, there could be a chance to use 1 or 2 of those tasty treats and get a slight advantage and gain the position.
We haven't had too many McDonald's Happy Meals coming out today. So in this race,
I think it's 3. Or am I thinking 1 from the first race and 2 from this one? As we have the leader coming through into the final turn. Here we go. Excellent drive by Shady Samuel. Bring it down the line. It's got 2.5 seconds gap. Has fuel. More importantly, JP has fuel. And
JP fuel, yes.
Yes. Excellent win by Shady Samuel. JP finishing 2nd. John Sonicus crossing the line 3rd. Kay not quite getting there, but did close in for 4th. Mags, excellent job for a top 5. Zuli and Dreyer have finished in their respective positions on 6 and 7. We have Torfik and Johnson crossing the line. Kuma should be finishing P9. Maddox crossing the line, and Bosic should be finishing in a top 10. Well done, guys. Silver class really showing a way. Bushel, Merker crossing the line. Wow, so many cars crossing all at once. Palmer, Doe, Hill crossing the line. White crossing through now. I thought there was a car out of fuel there, but that's just stopping past the line as Chalmers defends again from Rochford. Excellent job, Mr. Defender. Merritt finishing with the pen that he got, V22. It's pretty close for what cars. Keys crossing the line. Lau leading the AM class coming through. Weatherburn having a shocker of a race. Chris crossing now, and that's Lau finishing there. Richardson crossing. Kilby in car 6 finishing, and Mercer in 2nd in AM. Sue finishing already, and that is that. A very fast race.
Yeah, good racing all around by Red. Shady came tonight with the just really untouchable pace compared to the rest.
Oh, that qualifying pace is screaming. So there we go. So qualifying race 1, we have Shady Samuels, JP Sonicus, and then John Sonicus. That's in the overalls. And overalls in race 2, we have Shady Samuel winning again over JP Sonicus and John Sonicus. Lay, Mag, Zuli, Dreyer, Torfik, Kuma, and Bosic knocking out the top 10. Excellent job, you drivers. Really entertaining race. Entertaining for the closest of the racing and a limitation on split blood shenanigans. Well done, guys. And congratulations to all the top 10 finishers tonight. I think that was actually really well done. Yep. So the next transmission we're going to be having is the Simrigs GT3 Cup this Friday night, where we have the finals happening for Pro-Am and then the pros later. So switch into that. And thank you, chat, for making the comments. And thank you, Connor, for reading the chat. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks, chat. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Mole. Thanks, OR. And get ready to see some great racing tomorrow at the GT3 Cup.
Right. Bye.